Mark Carney of Canada announced sanctions against Iran for having the audacity of defending themselves. So let me get this straight. Canada is sanctioning the country that was invaded, but not United States and Israel. You know the countries who started this war? This is just another example of the united Epstein class that completely infests the governments of the West. The Epstein class in Canada doesn't even flinch after the United States and Israel, their close allies, bombed a school in Iran, murdering 160 school children. So according to the Western rules-based order, you can murder a bunch of children, but God forbid the people who had their children murdered ever fights back or resists. Canada is the same country who didn't even flinch as Israel carried out a genocide in Gaza and a brutal invasion of their neighbors in Lebanon. So no sanctions on Israel for genocide, but you put sanctions on Iran for defending themselves? Now do you guys see why I despise the West? Remember, Mark Carney is the same guy who pretended to be concerned over the Western rules-based order due to his Trump derangement. Meanwhile, here he is, helping Donald Trump carry out a genocide and destabilizing war. Iran is fighting a just war of self-defense against a bunch of genocidal monsters. That's why there's even a bunch of Americans who are rooting for Iran to win.
What's poppin'? My friends, my family, welcome back. You guys know I'm always alive. We got one hell of a week for you guys tonight. We got Rathbone, the Nick and Rathbone show. That's back on Wednesday. But for now, I have so much to cover. I have to dive right into it. I had to go. You guys know how Monday shows are. So much to discuss. Sit back. There's gonna be one hell of a rant stream because I'm gonna explain to you guys. And I feel like I've been vindicated so much over the last few months. This is why I was laughing at Canada, and I was making a ton of liberals upset because I was explaining how I found it hilarious that Donald Trump was threatening Canada. Remember that? Remember how liberals like, oh my God, this is another example of how Donald Trump is a tyrant. This is not how we speak to our allies. Donald Trump is now threatening Canada. It was like, even like the Bernie, like if you listen to Bernie Sanders, he loves this line. Like the NATO left. The NATO left, they love this line that one of the reasons why Trump is a tyrant is that he's going after our allies in Canada and Greenland. I'm like, fuck Canada and Greenland. Canada is already a 51st state, by the way. Canada, they are tools of the United States imperial regime. And I found it hilarious, a bunch of Western chauvinist white boys, all these white neocons. How dare you? How dare you, Trump, talk to Canada like that? Fam, the way that Donald Trump talked to Canada and Europe is exactly how every single United States president talks to leaders in Africa and demean our African brothers and sisters. The way they disrespect African countries, the way they disrespect countries in the global south, the countries they bankrupt with IMF loans. So the United States started treating a white country, or I should say one of the fellow Western countries, the same way they treat the global south, and everyone start melting down. The West has a Nazi problem because you have Iran, and I will explain this in my hotspot video. They are fighting a war against people who launched this attack first, who pulled out of agreements that allegedly led to this war. Obviously, there's a lot of different legitimate reasons why, like the pressure by Israel. The stated objective is to get rid of Iran's nuclear program. So Trump pulls out the nuclear program, which leads to this escalation. So Iran was like, bro, we have a religious fatwa on nuclear weapons. So we're 100% okay with not nuking or having a nuke if you guys just remove sanctions and we can have normal relationships. And then under Joe Biden, he continued the strategy of hardcore pressure on Iran, refusing to use diplomacy to calm down the geopolitical situation. That's why I always cracks me up with shit like, so you guys should vote for Kamala. Bro, we will be in the same position, but I think you guys know that. I feel like it's beneath you guys for me to even explain that. Because the situation that we're in with Iran has been a bipartisan effort that happened under multiple administrations. Because Anthony Blinken made it clear that he had no plans on changing Donald Trump's strategy in Iran. They was demanding to completely get rid of all enrichment. This is under the Biden administration. I know because I covered this. Unlike the dipshit Bernie left, who never touched this issue with a 12-foot pole. Bernie Sanders and the progressives like, we need to get back in the Iran deal. We need to get back in the Iran deal. Then Biden got in office, didn't do anything. And then Bernie said, you ain't heard shit from Bernie Sanders. Like, criticizing Biden for that. So Blinken said we're going to continue the policy that that Donald Trump had, and we will refuse to negotiate and get back in the nuclear deal unless Iran accept all the sanctions while at the same time ending even their civilian enrichment program. So Donald Trump is carrying on this failed strategy because his plan was to get rid of this nuclear deal. And apparently, Donald Trump dropped sanctions on Iran. So you understand how stupid that is of the West and how malicious they are? Because if you had plans to drop sanctions on Iran, why didn't you drop the sanctions in order to guarantee the fact that they wouldn't get a nuclear weapon if that's your stated objective? But we all know that's not their stated objective. These are things that the NATO left and the Democratic Party and the progressives would repeat as if it's a fact. That there's any other reason, like if you listen to, and you guys know I listen to a ton, if you listen to these propaganda networks, including the progressives, well, when I say that, I mean like more of the Bernie Sanders people, like you guys just they would say stuff like, why, the liberal media, they were like, why did the United States start this war? Then they started to help Israel start to advance the greater Israel project. At any talking point about nuclear weapons, Ayatollahs, protests, has nothing to do with that. Iran is the number one geopolitical threat to Zionism in the region that was allied and supported multiple resistance movements against Zionism. So it's so annoying, and I have a deranged segment I'm going to show you guys. I've been focusing more on the MSNBC Democrat propaganda because the Fox News shit is crazy, but bro, MSNBC is right next to them. And you guys gonna be your jaw gonna hit the floor when I show you guys this. Like the deranged lies being told on quote unquote resistance liberal Democrat network. And then people think that things would be different if a Democrat was in charge. They refuse to acknowledge that this is because of Jewish supremacy, the goal of creating greater Israel. They make all this other bullshit like it's about nuclear weapons. It was about nuclear weapons, and you guys was okay with lifting sanctions. Why do you lift sanctions in order to get a nuclear deal in the first place? These are things they never explained to you. So despite the fact that this war was manufactured, that talks was never legit, that the United States attacked Iran not once but twice during negotiations, you have the genocidal West that is sanctioning not the United States for executing over 160 school children. They're not sanctioning Israel for invading Lebanon and completely destroying their medical infrastructure. You guys know that Israel holds more Lebanese land than Russia captured in Ukraine? Like they are engaging in straight up land theft. And the Western corporate media and the West as a whole is completely ignoring that. No sanctions for Israel for that. No sanctions for Israel for enabling the violent settlers to lynch Palestinians in the West Bank. You guys see why I despise the Western rules-based order? And I despise, and the reason why I criticize the left, because I criticize the left more than anyone else because the United States left, they have more credibility than me. And it's crazy to me that people think that someone like Ro Khanna, Hassan Piker, Matt Duss, these NATO leftists are on our side when they side with this fascist NATO regime who implements a disgusting rules-based order based on racism, Jewish supremacy, and colonialism. And then those dipshits like Zoran Mamdani and AOC, they have the nerve to criticize the democracy of Cuba. I will never forgive Zoran Mamdani for that, ever. As the West is starving Cuba, as they are imposing blockades on Cuba, you have Zoran Mamdani that's condemning Cuba. He condemning AOC and Bernie Sanders, they condemning Russia. Meanwhile, Russia, China, all these countries they're condemning, they're providing actual real aid to Cuba. We're going to get to that in a second. But the premise of social democracy and democratic socialists, and the reason why they are enemies, the reason why I can make these criticisms of anyone on the political spectrum, from the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, but it's the liberal Zionist left that has all the credibility. Like Crystal Ball and the dipshit left, they compare their numbers to mine. They have way more clout than I do. So, of course, I'm going to look at them and destroy their politics, at least through my community, so people know what's up. Because these are the same people who repeat every single CIA propaganda attack, like Dr. Cornel West, supporting Alexei Navalny, supporting the Iranian Mossad protest, condemning authoritarianism in Venezuela, China, Russia. Like, I hate these people. These people worship Western democracy as if it's the pinnacle of human creation, when Western democracy is built on genocide, oppression, and violent hypocrisy. So not only do we have Canada that is technically supporting the United States imperialism by putting on sanctions on Iran while they're under attack. Not only that, they're putting sanctions on Iranian weapon procurement networks. So this is them coordinating with the United States. Despite what Mark Carney or anyone else will say, they will say we oppose this rules-based order because he had Trump derangement syndrome. That way, say they will say we are not. You have Keir Starmer, all these Europeans like, when we're not going to get involved in this war. They're trying to win favor at home. Anyway, we don't want to get involved in this war. Meanwhile, they are providing technical support. That's what these sanctions are for. That's what the entire EU genocidal system. No sanctions on Iran. You have Anthony Blinken, Matthew Miller, and all of these genocidal monsters that are going on book tours right now. There are judges at the ICC who can't even, they've been completely debanked and their lives have been ruined because they've been sanctioned by the United States. They've been sanctioned by the EU. But despite all these facts, despite the fact they ruined Francisca Albanese's life, despite all that, you have the NATO left, the DSA left, the Democratic Socialist left. They prefer the Western rules-based order. AOC will praise the democracy of the UK as they're arresting doctors. And then, if you don't go along with their Western chauvinism, they will say, oh, you're a tanky. Why you got to stay on blacklisted? They're like, you got to make sure you blacklist the tanky. You can't listen to the tankies, man. That will ruin your career. I don't want to be part of the club. I'd rather attack it. You have progressive. Remember the segment I did about this new quote unquote progressive Democrat effort to say the Democratic Party, featuring Crystal Ball, Voss, the pedophile, Hassan, the sex pest. Let me reload my screen here. You guys know one of the demands of progressive victory is to support Ukraine, right? I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself. I'm going to get to that here very soon. But that's why I made this tweet. This is why, if anyone confused about my coverage, has it been clear why I take the geopolitical positions that I do? Is it clear now why anti-imperialists and communists unapologetically support the axis of resistance and we don't do the Trotskyite bullshit where we nitpick their imperfections, especially as people who live in the belly of the beast, your taxpayer money goes to bombing children, and you're going to nitpick at Russia? You're going to support NATO over Russia? Before I talk my tweet, this is why in a million years, you would never convince me to hate the Russians. The same way that our Russian brothers and sisters shared anti-racist civil rights propaganda in support of the black community during the civil rights protests. The same way they're defending Iran right now. The same way they defended the ethnic Russians in Ukraine against the Banderite assault on their country. That the BBC and CNN, they used to report on it. You guys remember how Ro Khanna used to report on the Nazis in Ukraine that slaughtering Russians pre-2020? Now the NATO left supports them. So you have Russia that is showing solidarity and broke the Cuban blockade in a historic act of resistance. Meanwhile, the dipshit NATO left wants you to hate Putin as he stands in solidarity with the Cuban people, as the American left don't do shit. God bless anyone who go on the flotilla, but you guys think the flotilla matter more than this? I explain all the time, like there are a lot of people who got American minds who had to feel guilty because they admire other cultures, because that's how deeply right-wing the United States is. That's how deeply racist it is. Where people will judge you for if you say you appreciate Russian culture, Chinese culture. If you admire the victories of other countries and how the working class were able to advance, people look at you like you're crazy in the United States. Even though admiring other cultures is as human as it gets. We're supposed to learn, mimic, and copy from each other. That's how humanity advanced throughout the Stone Ages, copying the advancements of other civilizations. So that's what I do. I never tell you guys I think Russia and China, these places are perfect, but I want the working class in the United States to get the victories that they achieved. Russia, they don't have no medical bankruptcy. They got paid maternity leave. They got stuff that the United States left failed to accomplish in 40 years. And then they got the nerve to say that Putin is a tyrant and an authoritarian. Like, bitch, Putin is doing more than you, Bernie. You fought for 40 years to get Medicare for all. Putin is providing single-payer health care to his people. Ooh. But then Bernie will say, don't you know that Putin is the tyrant? He doesn't care about his own people? Fuck you. You're a tyrant who allies with people who support starving the Cubans. But my point is, I am very unapologetic, and I'm very clear that as someone who understands the historic battle that Russians had with the Nazi West, and just the Russian people themselves, like you guys see, Zoya is a Russian. She's a beautiful person. Every single Russian I met in my life, beautiful people. I used to train jiu-jitsu with a Russian Olympic wrestler who was a fucking monster. He was like fucking 19. Came over from Russia to wrestle from some university. This motherfucker was a monster, bro. Remember, I was like a striker back then. I was learning jiu-jitsu. I was like 22, 23. There was this Russian wrestler. This motherfucker wasn't even that buff. He was like 180, but he was the strongest motherfucker you will ever touch. Like, you guys, I'm more of a striker. My grappling is extremely better now, like 10 plus years of training. But back then, bro, I grappled that motherfucker hip toss. Hip toss. I'm like, dude, this motherfucker is strong as shit. These are the people I was grappling with back in the day. But if you talk to this guy, you around this guy, he had this super thick Russian accent, barely speaking English. One of the nicest fucking dudes I ever met in my life. The same with Zoya's life. Every single Russian I met in my life has been amazing fucking people. And then I look at the Jewish supremacists. I look at the Mark Levins. I look at the Lindsey Grahams, and I'm like, Bernie, you prefer a Lindsey Graham over a Putin? over the Russian people, you are out of your damn mind. But I will concede that maybe not everyone has the same life experience or same perspective that I do regarding my admirations of other cultures and other people. So if you don't personally fancy the Russian culture and people like I do, that's okay. But what is not okay and what is not forgivable is for you to side with the genocidal Nazis in NATO who passively support the genocide in Gaza, the Israeli invasions, that support the Western hegemon starving Cuba. You guys technically support Western democracy over the Russians? You supporting NATO over the Russians, Rokana? Corey Bush? Ilhan Omar, I saw some people in the chat. They be like, what's the NATO left? These motherfuckers who keep getting elected. Zoran Mamdani, he's a NATO leftist. They all are. I'm saying that because you have to be a progressive Democrat. People are like, man, I really like Bashir Tlaib. She's a NATO leftist. They're all NATO leftists. If you support NATO in the genocidal West over Russia, you can go fuck yourself. That's a deranged position. So this is what I mentioned before. Putin is currently sending material support for Cuba as the United States, in coordination with NATO countries, starve them. Putin is also standing in support of Iran against a genocidal assault by the United States, Israel, and the entire NATO alliance. Sincerely, fuck the NATO left for signing for these genocidal monsters over our Russian brothers and sisters who are resisting the genocidal Epstein regime. Because this is the victories that, like, even the New York Times admitting it, and liberals are going through a crisis. They're like, what? They're like, what? Putin is supporting Cuba? What? I think so many of these liberals that are going through an existential crisis, asking themselves questions like, why the United States is starving these countries, why Russia is supporting them. They ask themselves these questions like, why are Africans in the diaspora in support of Putin? There's a lot of people who are like new to my channel. They probably see me on Rathbone. They probably see me on Jimmy Dore. They see my initial position. They're like, what? You know, their mind's still colonized. Like, what? You like the Russians? And then liberals, the most racist people alive, they're like, don't you know that Russia brainwashed all these dumb Africans? They're like, don't you know that Russia probably, the Russians and the Asians in China, they are so much smarter than these dumb Negroes. Don't you know they tricked them? That's the liberal legitimate explanation that is deeply seated in racism. Ask my friend David Hudayan, my hotspot brother who reports out the West Africa Weekly, founded the West Africa Weekly. They smear him as a Russian puppet all the time because he's in line with the Russian youth. I mean, sorry, he's in line with the African youth who love Russia. They seen Russia fighting against the imperial bastards who colonized Africa and stole their resources. So what do you guys think Cuba is going to think of the Russians from now on? You guys think the global majority is not looking at what's happening in Cuba? They see Putin standing with the Cuban people. Even though Venezuela was ultimately toppled by the West, they saw the relations that Russia had with Venezuela. They see how Russia, and once again, my African brothers and sisters as well, they see them as the part of the axis of resistance alongside China. This is another example. I'm not sure where this reporter is based out of. Oh, well, she's in DC. I thought she was. I don't know why I think my son knows. But look, I think this is another tweet that kind of explains the situation. Russia challenges the United States and delivers 100,000 tons of crude to Cuba after 3 months of blockade imposed by Washington on the island. It's not that hard to write a decent headline or report these things as they are, unless you're a servile media or political lackey of the United States. And as someone who keeps my eyes on the ground and listen to what the NATO left is saying, you got to know that Sam Sear he's not tweeting about this. Cenk Uygur, who went to fight the Russians, like, we got to fight the Russians. He said that a few years ago. Is he going to tweet about this? Is Bernie Sanders and AOC going to acknowledge this at all? Of course not. Are they going to talk about what China's doing? China, Russia, by breaking the Cuban siege, has done more to oppose United States imperialism and has done more for the Cuban people than DSA has done in 40 years. DSA keep going on these goddamn field trips. They go on field trips to Cuba like, look, we stand with Cuba, condemn Russia. Meanwhile, Russia and China are giving material, real support as their hero, Zoran Mamdani, is condemning Cuba, the Cuban government, and by extension, the Cuban people. They like to hide that part. When you know how the Trotskyists and everyone who bashed Russia and Putin, they're like, don't you know Putin's a tyrant? Don't you know Putin's a dictator? Motherfucker, the majority of the Russian people support Putin. 75%. Who the fuck are you? That's them directly dissing the Russian people and robbing them of their agency. I try to explain this to my Trotskyist friends. You guys will never in a million years show me an example when I did this. You guys will never see me support or prop up a leader that is not supported by their people. You have the United States Congress that has around a 15 to 18% approval rating. You guys know why I criticize them? You have German politicians who are deeply underwater. Everyone hates Friedrich Merz. Keir Starmer is one of the most unpopular. Yeah, this is the accurate numbers. Keir Starmer is one of the most unpopular prime minister in history. Now you guys see why I go after these capitalist dictatorships that don't represent the interests of their people. Meanwhile, China, their government is supported by 80% of their people. 80% of the Russian people support Vladimir Putin. Meanwhile, the dipshit NATO left think they know more than these people. The same way Zoran Mamdani in Cuba. Dissing the Cuban Revolution. Dissing the agency of the Cuban people. And these fucking Democratic socialists and Trotskyite fucks, they think they fucking slick. They're like, well, I stand in solidarity with the working class of that country. Nigga, the working class in Russia stands with Putin, bitch. The working class in China stands with Xi Jinping, and you condemning their agency. I'm not going to do that because as a Marxist, as a communist, I believe in sovereignty. I support the sovereignty and self-determinations of working classes because I know and I have belief in the potential of the working class that they know what's best for them and their culture. It's the Trotskyists, with all due respect to a lot of these people I respect with all domestic policies, but they undermine the agency of the working class in their countries and act like mini imperialists. They act like mini imperialists as if their opinion as an enlightened American. Look at me, I'm an American. I am from America, the land of the free. I am here to tell you, filthy Cubans, that your government is authoritarian. That's Zoran Mamdani. You guys think I'm joking? That is literally what Zoran Mamdani does. That's literally what Dr. Cornel West does. Dr. Cornel West, married to an Iranian diaspora motherfucking traitor, scumbag. They believe they know what's best for the people in Iran and Tehran as they live in the empire, as they're not under sanction assault. They ignore the will of the Iranian people and listen to Mossad agents. What Dr. Cornel West did should never be forgiven. You're not going to sweep that aside, nigga. You need to make public statements apologizing. You need to have reconciliation. Like, you need to do live streams with anti-war activists and apologize why you're fucking wrong. Because the way these people support empire talking points and the fact that it's completely invisible to the mainstream left, the Hassan Piker left, it's completely invisible to them. Why do you guys think there's all this narrative about Hassan? There's all this narrative about Hassan Piker right now. There's all these Democrats freaking about Hassan Piker. Why do you guys think that is? That's because they're trying to erase the real communists, the real black radicals, and they try to have the NATO dipshit left like Hassan Piker, who has Matt Dust on and licks his boots, even though Matt Dust is a fucking Zionist who condemns Palestinian resistance, and he unapologetically supports the band rights in Ukraine. And these are the left that gets promoted in the United States. Not me. That's why I'm adversarial to them, because I'm not going to try to join them. Nigga, I could have been joined them. Have them help me boost my subscribers. Nope. I'd rather be adversarial to them. Anyway, this is bro, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't give a fuck what he says. Like, why you guys keep covering for this motherfucker? He supports NATO politicians. It doesn't matter if he criticizes NATO every once in a while. He's the biggest bootlicker of AOC. Like, whenever I see people in my comment section defend this guy, it blows my mind. It blows my mind. Bro, it doesn't matter what you complain about on stream. If you support these NATO, and for one, I've seen clips of him with Matt Duss supporting his narrative. So for one, I question the idea that he's not pro-NATO. Like, because I seen him with Matt Duss. I covered it a few years ago when he was like, yeah, he's nodding his head, not correcting any of his NATO talking points. And he has people like Bernie Sanders on, AOC on, and he never grills them on NATO. He talks to these people all the time. So what you mean he's not pro-NATO, my friend? He supports big politicians who support the war against Russia. That's what it means to be pro-NATO. It doesn't matter if you criticize NATO a few times on stream. Please stop being stupid, my friends. Like, I will never be more popular than Hassan Piker, but I need you guys to wake the fuck up. The idea that he's the face of the left is crazy to me. And the best I can do is at least stop my community from falling into it. That's why, like, whenever I see people in my comment section saying bullshit about Hassan, it's crazy to me. Like, yeah, a lot of people like, I'll leave it up in the air because I don't watch fucking Hassan Piker. I've seen clips though. I've seen clips, and every clip I've seen, it seems like he supports the NATO proxy war in Ukraine. And if he has been critical of that, let me put out this caveat. Even if he has been critical of the NATO proxy war, which I doubt, it does not matter because he supports pro-NATO politicians. You guys realize I would never support a Cori Bush. I would never support a Summer Lee, a Rashida Tlaib, a Ro Khanna, an AOC. The fuck you talking about? You mean the fucking Banderites? I'll show you guys this. I show this all the time. Bro, every time I tweet this picture, I'm trying to find it right now. Here it is. Is this it? The Ilhan Omar. Look at this shit. Bro, I tweet this photo every once in a while, and it blows people's mind. Like, people are like, what? What? Ilhan supports the Nazi in New. I will see people who have good opinions. Like, people who I do not like. They will say, guys, yeah, I don't like AOC, but you gotta give it to Ilhan Omar. I'm like, no, the fuck you don't. The fuck? They be like, don't you, Nick, you gotta agree that Rashida Tlaib is kind of beige, don't you? No, the fuck she's not. Anyone who is not critical of the Banderite Ukrainian regime, I have footage I can show you of the Ukrainian regime beating the fuck out of people in the streets, kidnapping young men, sending them to the meat grinder. And that's what Ilhan Omar supports, shaking her ass for Nazis. They support not only the coup of Ukrainians, but the mass slaughter of Ukrainians by the Ukrainian regime. Let me find I didn't have to save. I'm pretty sure I can find it though. Like, if you ever asked them about all the ethnic Russians that was murdered by Ukraine. Oh shit! I found this clip. I didn't have this plan, but I saw someone post this. The quality is shit, but Emma Vigeland is one of the people who support NATO. This is my take on it. This is when I was with Rathbone in our first. You notice how none of the NATO leftists will ever acknowledge the referendum in the Donbass. Why don't they do that? You know, the internationally recognized referendum where they voted to be part of Russia and they wanted to lead the Ukrainian regime. This is one of the reasons why Russia started their invasion. And many people criticize them for not doing it earlier to save the ethnic Russians being murdered by Nazis. So when people are like, Nick, why you support the Russian military special operation? I don't know. I'm a fucking communist. You know what we do as communists as a pastime? We cheer on dead Nazis. So as a communist, you know how fucking irritating it is for me to see people who claim to be a socialist support the open Banderite Nazis in Ukraine And then they want to deny it as if Ro Khanna wasn't tweeting about it. As if Ro Khanna wasn't like, hey, man, I think we should stop funding the Nazis in Ukraine. It was like one of the first things that, like, this is, I'll show you. I know you guys seen this. I know I show you guys this stuff all the time. I'm saying this for new viewers. But for the people who believe that I'm a crazy tanky, I'm a crazy Russian propagandist or whatever, nigga, this is what you tweeted, bro. Ever since the Orange Revolution began under President Bush, the U.S. has been complicit in the rehabilitation and spread of neo-Nazis in Ukraine. Enough is enough. Our government must stand up to the Azov Battalion and other fascist groups. Then deleted after 200 weeks, right after the beginning of the special military operation. Do you guys think it's a coincidence that he deleted his tweet right after the military operation? And then these dipshit NATO leftists, bro, I fight with these people all the time on X. And then they're like, Nick, how can you call the Ukrainians Nazis? Hey, Nick, how can you support Palestine but you're not supporting Ukraine? Boy, whenever I hear that one, I'm like, bro, I want to fight you. like I don't even want to debate you. I want to fucking fight you. Because the fact that you're going to compare Palestinians, a stateless people, to a Nazi government. So you are doing what liberals do, where you're trying to compare Palestinians to Nazis. So let me get it through your thick fucking skulls, all you Ukraine, Palestine flag dipshits. Palestinians are a stateless people being genocided by a coordinated Western alliance. Ukraine is a state that embraces fascism, and then they rob the sovereignty of Eastern Ukrainians. The same Eastern Ukrainians who want to be part of Russia, who voted via referendum and then was murdered. I meant to put this one. I had the wrong headline up. So in the Luhansk region, in the overall Donbass, they had a widely credited referendum where they wanted to be part of Russia. You know why? Because a lot of these people came from Soviet culture. The Eastern Ukraine was heavily Russian. Majority of them speak ethnic Russian. Then the Ukrainian government banned the Russian language. They start shelling the Russians in the Eastern Donbass region. This is what Poroshenko used to say. In the Donbass, children would sit in cellars. Ours will go to school. You guys see this headline? You guys see the date, 2014? In the Donbass, children will sit in cellars. Ours will go to school. What did he sound like? He sounds like a Zionist, don't he? Because he is. Like Ukraine crisis. Children die in Donetsk shelling. Big shout out to my friend Ripper Go for sharing this. You guys see how no one in the NATO left acknowledged that the fascist Ukrainian regime was waging war on their own people. And then they're like, well, don't you know that you got to stand with the fascist Ukrainians? Don't you know the Nazis in Ukraine are just like Palestinians? If you're going to make that bonehead example, and I've explained this on the channel before, if you're going to make this bonehead comparison, it's the ethnic Russians in Ukraine, in the Donbass and Luhansk region. I should say Donetsk and Luhansk, because that's make up the Donbass. They voted to have their own independent state. And who is preventing that from happening? The people preventing that from happening are the United NATO Alliance that engaged in mass slaughter of the ethnic Russian people in order to prevent their sovereignty. What does that remind you of? What is there another people who are looking for a state? I don't know, somewhere in the Middle East that is being prevented statehood by a united genocidal Western alliance? What does that remind? Oh no, maybe an alliance being funded by the United States and the UK, something like that. Oh, Palestine. So if you're gonna compare Palestine to Ukraine, the people who are more like the Palestinians are the ethnic Russians who was victimized by their government and being denied statehood. And the Ukrainian government is Israel because Israel is funded by the West. You guys see how wrong they get this comparison? And what's Russia in this situation? Well, Russia is Iran. Like Russia's Hezbollah. Russia is the axis of resistance coming in to support the ethnic Russians in the Donbass as they're being slaughtered by the genocidal NATO alliance, the same way that Iran did. You guys see how easy it is to completely and utterly destroy this narrative? They're repeating by the breaking point left. Like this guy points out how Cal and Crystal, they part of the NATO left. Voss, she's a big NATO leftist. That whole Progressive for Victory rally was a meeting of NATO leftists. You guys saw the clip I released a few days ago. Kat Abaluglia, whatever the fuck her name is. This lady, thank God she lost. Because she's a progressive neocon who wanted to wage never-ending war against the Russian people. That's why I don't fuck with I don't fuck with Corey Bush. I don't fuck with any of them. I can't find I'm trying to find I think you guys see it. That live stream between with the Progressive Victory was so cringe. Oh, here it is. Well, I think this is oh, that's my clip of it. All right, let me get back on track. That was a whole rant. Here's Mick Wallace. We're still technically on the first story. It's welcome to see Russia showing some good example of Cuban to the Europeans who are too scared of the U.S. empire to stand up to human rights. So that's what infuriates me, and that's why I hate Canada and the UK even more, because they were putting sanctions on Iran for having the audacity of fighting people who murdered their school children. They sanction people who are defending themselves against the Epstein regime. Meanwhile, Europe not only refused to sanction the United States for their insane war crime they're committing against the Cuban people, the active genocide, the immoral blockade. They refuse to show solidarity. They refuse to sanction them. But you know who is, once again, who helping them? The people that they're fighting. The people that the Europeans are fighting are showing support. Yeah, I think this is what I was looking for earlier. You got the Progressive Victory live stream cringe that happened. It was literally just a Democratic Party fundraiser. It was literally a Democratic Party fundraiser. Remember, it was featuring Crystal Ball. Let me see if I can find it. I didn't have to, just in case some of you people don't know what I'm talking about. I wonder if I can find a poster. I just did a segment on it. But here it is. Here's the poster. Remember, I did a segment critiquing this and I explained to you people how every single member of this poster is part of the NATO left, who supports NATO, who supports war. Like they have Voss on here Voss says NATO is a revolutionary movement. That's how far gone he is. And when you look at their messaging following what they call a rally, but it was just a Democratic Party fundraiser. They have all these candidates that came on, all these progressive NATO left candidates who were like, come on, can you guys donate to my campaign, please? Donate to me. Fam, you got to know that Progressive Victory. Look at number 4. The position of their group that Hassan Piker is in, for all the people who are skeptical about him being part of the NATO left, look at number 4. Foreign policy. Defend Ukraine. Defend Palestine and Ukraine. Defend Ukraine. That progressive pledge. This is a pro-war rally that Hassan Piker took. That he played a part of it. I don't know exactly when this was, but my friend Alex sent me this.
Would be great.
Oh, I think this is. Oh, dude, this is right after October 7th. I just now realized that. I was wondering when this was. I guess I wasn't paying attention. This is on November 1st, 2023. You guys want to see how the progressive voice, like Emma Vigeland, she was the one who was, she was the headliner. She was the headliner of the event, the big name. And I seen it like she was the main DJ. I was checking every once in a while. She was the main DJ. Bro, this is them supporting the colonization of Palestine.
Would be great. Yeah, I mean, when people ask the question, does Israel have the right to exist? Of course it does. Of course, people in Israel have the right to safety. Of course, like, because it does exist and because people live there. That's why they have the right. Because saying that it doesn't exist would mean expelling 9 million Israelis that live there. No. The point though is that does it have the right to exist in a way that is a permanent apartheid state and an occupation where there's 2.4 million people.
So she said she wanted to defend Palestine. Meanwhile, here she is defending the occupation of Palestine. And there are people who believe that these people are friends of the Palestinians. These are the same people who deny that there's a Nazi presence in Ukraine. I did a segment on that before. I'm sure I could find a clip if I really looked. But let's continue this liberal Zionism dribble. So you saying that you don't want these illegal settlers to leave the state of Palestine, that makes you a Zionist, no matter what you fucking think. So Emma Vigeland's like, well, they already exist. They already committed their Nakba. Come on, we can't waste a good Nakba now. She's like, we can't waste a good Nakba now. So since they're already there, we're already there. What kind of shit is this?
Right. Yeah, I mean, when people ask the question, does Israel have the right to exist? Of course it does. Of course, people in Israel have the right to safety. Of course, like, because it does exist and because people live there. That's why they have the right. Because saying that it doesn't exist would mean expelling 9 million Israelis that live there. No. The point though is that does it have the right to exist in a way that is a permanent apartheid state and an occupation where there's 2.4 million people plus that have no rights, like don't have rights of movement, don't have rights to drive on certain roads. Only Israelis have that right. Don't have rights over their water supply, over their electricity, over their futures. And I mean, no, Israel does have a right to exist and should exist because it does. But it needs to also include the rights of Palestinians. That is the central question here. And so when people ask that question, oftentimes they're asking, does it have the right to exist in an exclusionary way? And I would say that is a violation of international law in the way that it has been conducting its business.
Would be great. Now do you guys see why she's allowed to be on CNN? Why she's allowed to be on MSNBC? These are people who I don't want to ally with. These people are our enemies. We need to convince and we need to wake up their working class audience that they're not on their side. Trust me, many Palestinians already know. They don't need to hear this. But there are many people who are confused about this. And I guess it's my job to wake them up. That's why I'm doing this. And I failed on that point. I failed up until this point. And that's where this clip originated from. I know the quality on this is not the best. This clip came from when she was on CNN. She was like, "Oh, yeah, of course I support Ukraine." Like, bro, come on. So you understand by her supporting the Israeli right to exist, she supports the NATO alliance. Like, how can you support the NATO alliance over the actions of resistance like Russia and China fighting these people? Imagine being in support or having more favor for the UK over Russia. Like, man, you think Putin is a tyrant, authoritarian? All right, what about the UK? This is the point I make on the X all the time. I'm like, why does Zoran condemn only the enemies of the United States? Why do you guys, Dr. Cornel West, why you guys condemning the enemies while pretending that the UK is not a fascist state? This is the NATO alliance that they support. This is my friend Rame Aldewan, who's been silent. She's been arrested multiple times for standing against genocide because she lives under Jewish supremacy in the UK. The UK is next to the United States, in Israel, obviously. You would say they're all 1A, 1B, 1C. They are fascist shitholes. The UK, not China, the UK, not Russia, arrest the most people in the world based on what they post on social media. If you support Palestine Action, if you're a doctor who works in the NHS and you oppose the genocide of your government, they will ruin your life. They will ruin you financially. They will suspend you for your job on false pretexts. Like my friend Rame here, she's under constant surveillance by Jewish supremacy. And here she explains how it happens. So as the NATO left, by definition, in their support of NATO against Putin, they're in support of these states that are engaging in these fascist actions. Like, bro, I fucking hate the UK so much. Listen to this. I've covered her story before, but there have been a lot of updates. She's been arrested again. Again, bro. If you guys don't know who Rame Aldawan is, I was about to say, like, she's a prominent Palestinian activist. I'm not saying she's not, but she was a doctor, a Palestinian doctor, who saw her people being slaughtered by her own government. She saw her people being slaughtered by her own government and a genocide happening. So she did what any person you think would be decent enough to be a doctor would do. You speak up about children being murdered, and what Keir Starmer and the Labour Party has done to her is unbelievable. Actually, I don't have the arrest video, bro, but it's crazy. They had cops come to her house, and they were like, "We gotta arrest you for what you say on social media again." And like hearing the cop explain, like, "We gotta arrest you for anti-Semitism." I have the video, but I want to play this video first. Because this video, this is the arrest I'm talking about. Look, Dr. Rame arrested once again.
This is necessary for...
Look, they put her in fucking cuffs. She not firing assault rifles. Sorry, she's not firing assault weapons at Israelis. Like, she's not bombing pipelines. You know what I mean? She's not doing gangster shit. She is expressing her voice on social media in support for her people being slaughtered by her government. And you want to know what happened to her? They put her ass in handcuffs and kidnapped her from her home. So before I play more of the arrest, this is her speaking about the fascism in the UK that you would never hear AOC condemn. You would never hear Bernie Sanders condemn this. You would never hear the NATO left. Where is Ro Khanna calling this out? Why isn't AOC tweeting about this nonstop? The fascist harassment of doctors by the UK. Where is the NATO left leadership? I've done multiple content on this story. But once again, I was rejected by the US left. You got to know that. I don't have the clout that these people do. I don't have the reach that these people do. So I'm standing up and calling out the fascism of the West. Meanwhile, I'm watching people who are Democrat progressive orbiters who never say a goddamn thing about this. Meanwhile, they want to let you know every 5 seconds how much they condemn Russia.
What they're doing is there's a secret set of rules that they're changing, and they're coming after me under those because I've had 4 arrests now, 4 bails. One of them was allegedly me breaching my bail. And now when people supposedly breach their bail, most of the time they get charged. I have not been charged because I have not done anything illegal. But my speech is becoming a threat to this alliance that the UK and Israel have. It starts from the lobby. So the Israeli lobby, the pro-Zionist Jewish lobby, like the Campaign Against Anti-Semitism, Board of Deputies, etc. And they decide, with Mossad or without, that I am sort of like a high priority target. And then they need the green light from the Home Office to say, okay, she is a permissible target. And that then gives the green light to intelligence to say, okay, so we can classify her as potentially extreme, even though I'm not. But if they're working under that hidden framework where they're trying to almost reframe the law, because they are not using the law right now because they cannot charge me. And then after the intelligence, then it's the sort of execution by the police. So that goes from sort of intelligence to police, and it went intelligence to Wesley Streeting, Health Secretary, against the tribunal to have me suspended. And it also goes to the press, because when I was in my interview, they had a bundle that they wanted to go through during the interrogation. This was the longest interrogation so far. It was over 2 hours because it was a over 60-page bundle. But on the day they had printed another post. Now, of course, this is all social media posts, by the way, almost 99% X posts. This is just screenshots. And they had printed a post from the night before. They were adding to the bundle. It was even different paper that they said they printed that morning. And that was the post that was added in the 2 smear pieces in the Daily Mail and in LBC about me. So there is definite coordination there between intelligence, police, and the media to justify the state's actions. And the last aspect of this is the propaganda. You know, all of these media smears are quite literally just to make the public think that what the state is doing is justified. And unfortunately, that's why the lobby has made sure that all my Instagrams have been suspended. They really want to ban X. They want to take me off from X, because that's the one thing that people can realize, that actually I'm not some Jew hater or extremist person. I think this is what I'm facing at the moment, and I do think it is quite serious. And I think, you know, they've got me in their crosshairs. They don't want to let it go. And this is not me, by the way, being sort of cocky or thinking I'm anything special, but I think after 4 arrests, you have to be quite just realistic about the fact that you are, you know, an actual target here to the British state and clearly to the Zionist lobby.
Does this person look like a violent, radical terrorist to you? You want to know why they are harassing this woman? Because she called out Jewish supremacy the way that I do. Because I listen to my Palestinian brothers and sisters like this amazing comrade here. So the UK is under Jewish supremacist rule, and she highlighted that. She highlighted the fact that there was doctors on the NHS who literally cheered on the death of Palestinians, but they didn't face any sort of disciplinary action. But she faced disciplinary action simply because she said the UK is ran by Jewish supremacy, which is undeniable that there's a massive Jewish supremacy threat in the West, in the same way that the left calls out white supremacy, which I spent my entire life calling out white supremacy. Black Marxists spent our entire time calling out white supremacy. But you want to know what Brother Malcolm also did? You want to know what Brother Kwame Ture also did? They called out the scourge of Jewish supremacy. And this idea that the left is not allowed to talk about this is madness. Because there's this scourge, and there's a lot of people like, man, I can't believe you're saying this kind of stuff, man. I was like, bro, I'm about to go through a purge right now. I'm about to purge all the fucking dipshit leftists who still obsessed with Jewish feelings, still accusing comrades of anti-Semitism, even though they know they're not. Like, they know I'm not anti-Semitic, but you have these social democrat idiots say, yo, you can't say Jewish supremacy, that's anti-Semitic. What do you call a culture that has been radicalized to the point where they are sending death threats to mothers who just recently had children? Nurdine is a newish mother. I don't know her personal information like that, but I know for a fact she's a newish mother. Maybe a toddler, maybe. And she was receiving death threats from a coordinated Jewish terrorist organization, the Jewish Defense Force. The Jewish Defense Force is full of terrorists who harass and send death threats to Palestinians all the time. In Nurdine and activism, we have Palestinian panels. We talk about this. How the reason why I have to, in a way, outflank many Palestinian organizers, I gotta be like unapologetically supporting Hamas. While a lot of them, they gotta hold their tongue because they will get fucking murdered. They will be attacked. Palestinians all the time have to hold their tongue on things. Nurdine doesn't. Nurdine doesn't at all. That's why she's being targeted. But many Palestinians, that's why it's hard for me to have Palestinian roundtables. You guys see, I did a few Palestinian roundtables. It's so hard to do that, fam, because it's hard to get Palestinians on camera. You guys see the Palestinian roundtables that I did? If you did it, search my library, you'll find them. The few Palestinian roundtables that I did, there were like multiple Palestinians that I was 100% okay with it. they was like, I can't be on camera. You guys see that a lot of them went off camera? They turned their shit off like this. Like, I had a lot of Palestinians when I had my Palestinian roundtable during the anti-war summit. They was like this. They're like, bro, I can't be seen doing this. Don't you know they would kill me? And this is another example of the Jewish supremacy that the left has to become stronger on. I am so fucking tired of seeing people who call themselves anti-imperialists and people who call themselves socialists accusing other comrades of being anti-Semitic. You know we're not, you dipshit. You're just trying to go along and be part of the liberal social club. You want to be acknowledged or get a job with a Zionist somewhere. All my homies hate Israel. All my homies hate Jewish supremacy. But I'm telling you guys right now, unequivocally, there's no one that I fuck with. There's no one in the Arabian community. There's no one who I follow among the countless Palestinian activists I follow. There is not one fucking person who I will label as an anti-Semite. Not one. I haven't seen one person in this Palestinian movement, which I've been deeply entrenched in for years, ever be like, oh, fucking Jews! You fucking Jews! Never seen it. I've seen people criticize Jewish supremacy. I've seen how people call out Jewish terrorism like this. And then whenever they did, they are called anti-Semitic. So maximum solidarity to Nurdine. She's been on the channel a few times on our Palestinian. She's one of the people we have on the Palestinian roundtables, and she always blown my mind with her with her knowledge. So I'm very sad to see she's going through this, being harassed by Jewish terrorists. There was a plot against her life that the FBI had to step in. And despite the rise of Jewish terrorism, despite the fact that there's clearly this scourge going on in synagogues, straight up, because we know that we have anti-Zionist Jewish brothers and sisters who I love. That's why I laugh at anyone who says I'm anti-Semitic. I'm standing up for my anti-Zionist Jewish brothers and sisters who are a victim of other fascist community. The same anti-Zionist Jews who explained to me that synagogues teach young Jewish people to believe that they're God-chosen people and they have the right to murder Gentiles and Palestinians. Like, these are what anti-Zionist Jews told us. So they're the homies. They are, and despite any flaws that some of them may have, they're doing their best to fight against a violent, genocidal community that will financially ruin them too. But for whatever reason, well, I know the reason. But you have these dipshit leftists. Bro, you know how many people like this come up to me and they be trying to get me, they're like, man, I'm going to get Nick canceled today, boy. I got you. I got you, fam. Like, nah, bro. These liberals are so out of touch. Because essentially in this tweet I said, I was explaining what I mentioned in this rant. And my critique of the left, who are so squeamish when talking about anti-Semitism. We're talking about Jewish supremacy. They are afraid to say stuff like the anti-Semitism hoax is bullshit. So I explained how the left need to criticize Jewish supremacy, and now I gotta show you guys the discourse that I started. Because once again, I started discourse. You guys know I love starting discourse. Most of the time, Democrats try to ignore me, but every once in a while I go, but they try to snipe me, and organizer memes who never post any memes about organizing. The only thing this person does is attack leftists for being anti-Semitic. There's this big thing going around, and like DSA members are trying to accuse me of being anti-Semitic. All these liberal Democrats, oh Nick, you can't say that, Nick. And this is his response to essentially my rant, because he responded to my tweet, which essentially what I'm saying here. He said, Jewish supremacy is the easiest tell when someone's anti-Zionism is just anti-Semitism. The equivalent to the right using radical Islam a decade ago, not distinguishing between religion and extremist ideology, especially since the vast majority of Zionists are Christians. So before I show the absolute ass whooping this guy received, like, bro, it's so funny when like liberals try to go after me and then they end up getting their ass, because every single Palestinian, every single person who actually gives a fuck about calling out Zionism and Jewish supremacy was like, nigga, what you just say? Total retardation. So before I show you all the people who ratio this person, I'm going to break down and destroy his arguments line by fucking line, because that's how easy you motherfuckers are to dismantle. So look at the first line here. What does this tell you? Because everyone knows, by the way, if you don't know this account, they pretty well known on X for being a shit lib. This person was literally caught being paid by the DNC, because the DNC had to release the people that had been on the payroll. I forgot what it's officially called, but organizer memes was on there. You can look it up here. This person is paid by the DNC, so you have these people paid by the DNC to try to infiltrate the anti-Israel movement, the anti-genocide, anti-colonial movement, to accuse leftists of being anti-Semitic. So look at the first line and look at the tell that he has. He said Jewish supremacy is the easiest tell. Yeah, he was paid by, he one of them Usaid influencers. And for a very long time, a lot of people thought this person was like a leftist and he was trying to sneak in some shit lib talking points. But now he's been completely exposed. Like, no one believes this shit no more. Just for the people who don't actually don't know the background of this person. So they're telling the big names to avoid me, but the DNC, they're sending their ops after me. And I love to see that, because they gave up on that a while ago. But my hotspots are starting to blow up on X. I get like 10,000 views on every single hotspot I release on Instagram. And this point, my Instagram is popping more than my YouTube. And I haven't done anything to really promote it. It's just my hotspot videos be going viral on there now. So now they send their DNC ops after me. So the fact that they says it's the easiest tell of when someone's anti-Zionism and just anti-Semitism, what do you mean the easiest tell? What are you implying here? You guys see how the implication of his line is that anti-Zionism inherently has secret anti-Semitism? So he said Jewish supremacy is the easiest tell. Like, what are you looking for? Why is the automatic assumption that people are part of the anti-Zionist movement as anti-Semitic? This is the Jewish supremacy brainwashing of the Democratic Party. Hopefully you guys pick up what I'm saying here. Yeah, I see this person do. It's a Zionist argument. The fact that you even believe that there's tails to be had. Is that a better way for me to explain it? The fact that this person believes that the anti-Zionist left has tails, that we accidentally slip anti-Semitism out, that shows that he inherently believes that the anti-Zionist movement is fueled by anti-Semitism, which is a Zionist argument. And now let's go to the second line. The equivalent to the right using radical Islam a decade ago, not distinguishing between religion and extremist ideology. The funny part is that is what I'm doing, not you. Because I remember during the War on Terror, where you had these Mossad propped up terrorist organizations. You had obviously Mossad done 9/11, which is not even controversial to say anymore. That Israel did fucking 9/11 and they definitely had a part of it. So you guys realize that these radical Islamic organizations that were propped up and funded by the West, they was condemned by every single mosque in the world. They was condemned by CARE. They was condemned by 99% of Muslims in the West. Every single fucking Muslim I know condemned them. Everyone condemned radical terrorism. Everyone condemned 9/11. Meanwhile, when you look at Jewish supremacy, you have 99% of the synagogues who support the Israeli genocide against the Gazan people. You have the majority of the synagogues who ain't saying shit about the Iran war. So look at the comparison that he offers here. The exact opposite is true. You had Muslims massively condemned what is referred to as radical Islamic terrorism. Meanwhile, in the Jewish community, anti-Zionist Jews are a very, very small minority. Very fucking small. And then you have the massive institutional support. That is what is the difference between calling out Jewish supremacy and radical Islam. Because radical Islam was based on zero facts. But we have every single synagogue. We have the Star of David being cut into people's skin. You have Palestinians being branded. They're leveling entire areas and then putting the Star of David down. Zionism is literally the ideology of Jewish supremacy. Because in order to be a Zionist, you believe that Jews are God-chosen people to the point where they're allowed to commit genocide, the Nakba, and they are deserving of a land, they are deserving of a state, when no one is inherently deserving of a state. Your state can be legitimized through the support of the people by might makes right. But you can't say you're some sort of democracy when your state is relying on a genocide and apartheid, because apartheid is inherently not democracies. So to even compare those two, it's crazy. Oh yeah, let's get to the third line, because this tweet is so dumb, and I love that I have the dumbest haters. I love how the dumbest critiques, especially since the vast majority of Zionists are Christian. What the fuck does that have to do with the fact that Jewish supremacy is not real? This is the low IQ behavior that it would take to be a Democrat. Imagine thinking that this last line rebukes the concept of Jewish supremacy. So the fact that many Christians are Zionists is because they are infected by Jewish supremacy. And the amount of Christians who support Zionism does not erase the vast amount of institutional support that Jewish institutions provide to Israel. How does the existence of Christian Zionists erase the influence of a Ben Gvir? How does that erase synagogues selling out Palestinian lands? It does not. You have to be a massive dipshit to believe that. So look at this fucking ratio, bro. Jesus Christ. If you're not on X, this is about as bad as it gets. Bro, imagine having almost 1 million views, less than 500 likes. Bro, and you have over 520 people replying to you. If you're not on X, I'm explaining what that means. That means the vast majority of people who see your tweet is not liking it. A lot of them are commenting on it because they're here to tell you how fucking stupid you are. Dude, if you have a ratio this fucking bad, that is not a good thing. If you are a main character of Twitter at any point in time, that is not a good thing. And so I want to show you guys like some reactions, because this is, here's my response. Like, bro, I was ratioing this motherfucker left and right. You see, like this is what you call ratio, like 500 likes versus my 1.3, despite the fact that I got a fraction of a view that he did. And I'll explain how no one cares about anti-Semitism. Nerd. Fucking nerd. Oh, look at you, you're anti-Semite. Oh, don't criticize Israel that hard, bro. So these liberal Zionists call black people who are against genocide Hitler because we call out anti-Semitism. You guys see what liberal Zionism does to the brain? I, a black man a communist who opposed Nazism, I'm Hitler because I'm willing to call out the ideology of Zionism. So I brutally ratioed him again. What a brutal ratio. I said, okay, Ben Gvir. Because he has the ideology of Ben Gvir. And I'm showing you guys this because I'm showing you guys the massive awakening that's happening right now. This is what I reference. Like, I'm showing you guys the most popular responses to what he said here. You guys see how they burnt the Star of David into genocidal lands? You want to tell me that that's not Jewish supremacy? Do you guys realize that this Star of David, whether you like it or not, is the new swastika. For generations to come, the only thing people are going to associate this image with is genocide and death. And that's not my fault. That's the fault of Judaism. That's the fault of synagogues who didn't stop this. It's not our job, as I've explained many times before. It is not our job to do PR for Judaism. It is their job to separate themselves from Zionism, and they have done a horrible job at that. And it's not our job on the left to not talk about this because we care about Jewish feelings as Palestinians are being slaughtered. And what does that say about the Jewish mind, the Jewish mind too, but the liberal mind, that no one that they care about is calling out black leftists and anti-imperialists and calling them Hitler because I'm too mean to Jewish people. Jewish people who support genocide, by the way. Because you gotta know my friends that do dissidents, they're anti-Zionist Jews. Did I ever give them shit on my show? How many anti-Zionist Jews have I had on my show? Did I ever fuck with them? Like, oh, you fucking, Keaton, you're a fucking stupid Jew. No. So the idea that there's anti-Semitism anywhere on the left is absurd. So you guys already heard me talk, so I'm going to tell you guys, because I was just covering, this is part of my segment about defining anti-Semitism. I'm going to bring my friend Zoya. Zoya, I'm going to bring you in here soon after this segment so you can talk sweet to our audience. I got one more segment I want to show you guys. It's going to be a quick propaganda segment. So one more segment after this one, after Zoya takes the reign for a bit. So one of my favorite genres on X right now is when liberals try to call me out for being anti-Semite, and it always backfires. Like, bro, you know how many people I expose? I be putting out bait for these people. Like, I was like, man, the left calls out Jewish supremacy. I put out that tweet that was a banger because I knew some dipshit was gonna try to. I knew some liberal dipshit that would try to expose me and expose themselves and prove my point in the process. Yeah, I love Alam. We had him on before. We're good friends. I love Alan. I retweet him all the time. So he's another Jew. So if you guys think I am very straight to the point with my criticism of the Jewish culture. But if you think I hate Jewish people, that's deep-rooted liberalism on your part. Because I love Alan. He's a diehard anti-colonial Jewish man. He's about as on point as anyone is. You know what I mean? Bro, don't get Zoya started on the Soviet era, bro. Don't get her started on that. What do you guys think learned this shit, bro? Zoya is the sensei when it comes to Ukraine and Russia. You guys have no idea how well read she is. Let me zoom out a little bit. Here's our friend Nerdine again. Bro, Nerdine fucking dismantled this boy. Bro, everyone is ratioing the fuck out of him with a fraction of the views. Look at this. You don't get to say I'm showing you guys some Palestinian responses to the liberals who criticize me. So for anyone who think I go a little bit too hard on the Jews or Jewish supremacy, I am listening to our Palestinian brothers and sisters. I'm doing roundtables with them. Meanwhile, you got white DSA white boys. I could show you guys. I've been roasting them. Who's trying to tell Palestinians that they should support AOC. Like, there's like these white boys in the DSA. They spend all their time talking down to Palestinians. Like, these are the people who attacked Nardine. They attacked our Palestinian friends for not supporting Zohar Mamdani. They was upset at and they do this every election cycle. Whenever there's a fake progressive who try to make their career off of the Palestine movement and the issue of genocide, then Palestinians be like, actually, guys, like people like Nardine, God bless her, I love Nardine. People like Nardine was like, hey man, I love Zoran's housing proposals. Like, I kind of like, yeah, his domestic, because she lives in New York too, so she had a pretty big voice in this. And a lot of these DSA leftists hated her for this. She was like, hey, oh, by the way, you guys know that he's kind of a Zionist, right? You guys know we're kind of uncomfortable with him having Jessica Tisch in charge, right? And then whenever Palestinians would bring up these very valid critiques that I would then explain on my show as well, you had the DSA left like, how fucking dare you? How fucking dare you? You are a fucking wrecker! And they smear Palestinians as secret Republican records because they are opposed to the liberal Zionist politicians. Oh, sorry, I'm talking too much. I love Nerdine. Big shout out to her. You don't get to say it's acceptable to criticize Zionism, but then call it anti-Semitic. The moment that people actually define what it is. Look, I don't know if she meant to, but this is Nerdine indirectly defending me. I love to see it. I love Nerdine. Jewish supremacy isn't an attack on Jews as a people. It's a direct description of an ideology that structures power, land, and rights in a way that privileges Jews over others, particularly Palestinians. Now you guys see why they trying to kill Nerdine? She's a powerful force. She's been on a few panels of ours. But there's a reason why you don't see her on the show. Like, bro, these people are after them. And this person just explained what the story I just mentioned in response to this person. You gotta see how this man is getting brutally ratioed by everybody. Like, bro, I brutally ratioed him, but literally everyone is. Literally, I love when people take my baits because there was a discourse bait. Like, bro, I bait these motherfuckers all the time, and they get exposed. The avowed Jewish supremacists were caught trying to assassinate a Palestinian American this week. And what does that say about organizer memes and their supporters? That their number one focus right now is to try to call out the left for their supposed anti-Semitism, as it was exposed that there's a scourge of Jewish terrorism in our country. There's another one, friend Mel. She posts bangers all the time. Israel Jewish Power Party. Yeah, I'm gonna cover this with Rathbone on Wednesday, bro. Because they just passed an insane death penalty law. The first time any country created a death penalty for only one particular race and excluded others. That's how racist Israel is. So Mel explains how Israel's Jewish Power Party is about to pass a law that allows for the imprisonment of death penalty of Palestinians convicted of capital crimes in the Israeli courts. No Jews will be subject to this new law. Now, if there was a white power party in America passing laws of this nature, shit-libs like this asshat will scream white supremacy until they are blue in the face, and they be correct. But she's like, Mel is more on the right on a lot of issues, but even she acknowledged, like, yeah, dude, you have every single right to call out white supremacy. You have every single right to call out white supremacy if we was doing the shit that they're doing in Israel. If you catch any white person doing the shit that they're doing in Israel. And this sums up my frustration with the U.S. left in a nutshell. That you guys are willing to call out Christian nationalism. You guys are willing to call out white supremacy. But the second that I, a black person, call out the scourge of Jewish supremacy, I have liberals calling me Hitler. Do you guys see how crazy that is? You guys realize how crazy that is? That leftists can call out Christian nationalism, which is actually Christian Zionism. They can call out white supremacy, but they are comfortable with smearing black people as Nazis. They did to Fred Hampton. They did to Kwame Ture. The person who wrote Malcolm X's biography that LeBron James were promoting, they literally edited out his statements about Israel because they secretly believed that Malcolm X was an anti-Semite because it was a fucking Jew who wrote it. That's the history of white motherfuckers smearing black people as anti-Semitic. But you see how that tradition still goes strong to this day? That's why when this liberal shitlib who's being dragged by the entirety of Twitter, like if you're on X, I know you guys probably looking forward to me covering this because this motherfucker being dragged all over Twitter over this statement. But whenever people like that smear me as an anti-Semite, that's an affirmation of what I'm doing, because I told you guys my only goal is to follow in the revolutionary footsteps of my ancestors. We named ourselves the Fred Hampton leftists because I strive to be like Fred Hampton. I strive to be like Malcolm X. Kwame Ture is probably one of my favorite intellectuals and public speakers ever. That's why I reference him all the time. My brother Glenn Ford, my sister Mari Kimberly, my brother Jamal Baraka. I am here to follow in the tradition, the black radical tradition. And the history of the black radical tradition is liberals calling us anti-Semitic. So if you're a liberal, you will call me anti-Semitic. Thank you for legitimizing my path of following my revolutionary brothers and sisters. So I can show you guys 1,000 more of these. Bro, look, every fucking person is racial in this guy. I'm going to begin to wrap the segment up here soon, though. Oh, Jesus fucking Christ. Shut the fuck up. Bro, I love how these people are so out of touch. They really thought people were going to agree with him. Israel is absolutely composed and run by Jewish supremacists, widely reflected in statements, actions, and polling. We don't do anyone favors besides Zionists and anti-Semites by obscuring this fact. So I'm not picking out these comments. I literally sorted by the top comments here. Someone else explained how there's a rise of Jewish supremacy. The JDL literally just killed someone. There's my response. I got another top response. Like, I've ratioed him like maybe 5 times. It's always hilarious when liberals lash out at me for calling out Jewish supremacy, only to get ratioed and obliterated in the response. And this is the important point. These people are so out of touch. Guy, this era of the left being weak on the issue of Jewish supremacy and being afraid to call it out for what it is, those days are over, my friends. And that's why I've been trying to break. So, Zoya's love. Let me put the super sticker so I know when to cut that segment. There we go. Zoya, you there? If not, I'll start reading some comments. I want to give Zoya to take over just for a bit. I guess I can read some more comments as we wait for her. Zoya, my friend, how you doing? Wait for her. Zoya.
Hello.
Zoya's love.
How are you guys doing today? Monday, the week's just getting started, and Nick's already all passionate and on fire.
Yeah, it's gonna be one of those views. I can't wait for our show with Rathbone on Wednesday. I think that's gonna be a good one. There's so much content for me to cover, but there's a few stories I'm gonna save for when I do my show with Rathbone on Wednesday. I still have one more segment I'm gonna do. I'm gonna prepare here really quickly. I'm gonna show you guys. I think it's gonna be another propaganda report. I'm gonna show you guys what is being fed to the American people. You guys know that there was a poll, Zoya. I don't know if you saw it. There was a poll I just saw before I went live. It showed that 76% of the American people believe that the United States is winning the war against Iran.
Wow.
I might find it. I might try to see if I can dig that poll up and include it in the segment. So if you guys wonder why I break down this propaganda, a lot of people in the chats claim that people don't listen to it. Fam, that's not true, man. Like, people are listening, whether they know it or not, they're listening to these mainstream narratives. The fact that 70% of Americans believe that this war, that we win this war with Iran, not whether they support it, if they think that we're winning. The propaganda for the corporate media is extremely effective. So whether people in independent media want to acknowledge it or not, that's why I catch a lot of people in independent media repeating their talking points and narratives. Anyway, while I take my break, I'm gonna see if I can find that poll. I promise I'm not making that up. Zoe, you want to take over for a bit?
Yeah, I guess the CIA having handlers in Hollywood is really helping that propaganda. And that account that called out Nick, Organizing Memes, is a proven DNC paid account. So they're there literally to promote Democrats. Gaddafi's Ghost, thank you for the $4.99. Thank you for everything you do. Oh, we love comments like that. It's you guys that help keep us going. Ad Voisey, thank you for the $3 super sticker. Six Pack for Me, thank you for the $5. No King's Rally will never initiate regime change. No, they're there for vote blue no matter who. They're going to be sending you text messages to support Gavin Newsom. Bryce Smith, Nick, 100%. Lorshak, not that the USA had made Osama bin Laden a big guy in the first place to destroy the CCCP. Yeah, I mean, there are literal newspapers with headlines talking about how they funded Osama bin Laden because he's the hero that's opposing the Soviet Union. Also, a quick reminder for everyone, if you haven't, please do subscribe to the Patreon. The link is also in the description. Metal Nick, Zionist Christians openly say Jews are the chosen people of God. Yeah, the whole evangelical movement has gone very cultish and a little creepy. RKM 6863, you nailed it. Virtuoso 191, organizing grift. Oh, yes, indeed. Casey McCoy, good to see you. We gotcha. Lorshag, the cry about capitalism to vote Democrats industry. Yeah, hard to believe people are still falling for it in 2026, but like Nick said, over 70% think we're winning in Iran. Kenneth Locke, 6926. The right still screams radical Islam. What the fuck is that freak talking about? Islamophobia was heavily pushed after the end of the Cold War. The villains in movies, if you guys noticed, they went from being Russian bad guys to these cartoonishly evil caricatures of Islamic terrorists. They're always manufacturing consent. CTID, CTWD. I've never met a bad or rude Muslim. Yeah, they just want an excuse for imperialism. Kiriyama. Love Nick's passion from the heart. Outstanding, Nick Cruz. Thank you. Yeah, we all can use that to get the week going right. Beezus Quimby. Zoya, tell more about the Soviet era, please. That would be like a whole 3-hour stream, but what I could tell you is that there was universal healthcare, transportation, everyone had housing, free, excellent, top notch education, guaranteed job placement. Everyone took vacations and traveled. There was a lot of activities, wholesome activities for kids. All food was organic. There was no such thing as non-organic food. And it was just a really good life where you were close with your neighbors and kids were safe walking to school on their own. Really, truly nostalgic for that era. A lot of people, when they're polled, majority of people in the former Soviet Union say that they wish that it was back. Stoner adjacent patriot. Nick, you need a consistent streaming schedule. Well, we actually have one, like at the bottom of the screen, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern time, but sometimes certain guests make requests because of their busy schedules or they can't do certain days. So sometimes we have to adjust, but we are trying to be consistent with Monday, Wednesday, Friday at 8 p.m. Eastern time. So we appreciate you tuning in and sticking with us and your patience and support. Aziz. Nardine translates to fire of religion, so her parents knew what they were naming her. God bless her. Yeah, she's based. We gotta have her back on, actually. Michael Moya, hit the like button. Yes, everyone, please listen to Michael. President Jafar, thank you for the $5. After this UN resolution, I won't give a crap about Israel ever again. Virtuoso, thank you for the $2. Call them for what they are. The bish made left. Love the spelling there. RKM 6863, thank you for the 20 pounds, I believe. Purge. And one more. Wix, thank you for the 199. Did you see Lukashenko in Pyongyang? That flag is too tiny for me. Can you see it, Nick?
No, I don't see it. I don't see it.
Well, Bates, thank you for the support.
Yeah, I was trying to find this other video, but I think I'm gonna just do the segment. I'm pissed. I was trying to find this video. I just thought of showing you guys. Maybe another time. I can't find it right now. But this we're gonna talk about the horrible Iranian diaspora, and also talk about some more propaganda, and how MSNBC is unapologetically pushing for this war. But first, I'm gonna show you guys this because this clip right here is incredible. This clip right here sums up the Iranian diaspora in a nutshell. Because what MSNBC and these liberal corporate media channels, what they keep doing, they keep bringing on these Iranian diaspora motherfuckers who keep saying like, yeah, I think that Donald Trump need to have a better strategy, but you need to understand that we gotta support what he's doing. And I'm not bullshit. You go. I'm gonna show you guys this MSNBC segment where they are unapologetically making the argument for why we should support this war, and they bring on this CIA spook who was caught by Iran. So we're gonna cover that here soon. But just to show you just how pathetic the Iranian diaspora is, even Israelis look down on them. Like this video here is extremely shocking. Because you will see even the Israelis, like this video went mega platinum viral, bro. This Iranian sucking up to his Israeli masters. This sums up the Iranian diaspora in a nutshell.
We did not save them. We're killing them, bro.
I am Iranian and I'm thanking you.
Really?
Yes.
What he's saying is, thank you for saving them. Not killing, saving.
I want to say thank you to you Israeli people.
Yay. Is that good or no? I'm confused.
Bro, so if you essentially this guy and this whatever this chat service, I don't know what the fuck this is. Like these kids, they be chatting to each other around the world or whatever. He's talking to these Israelis. He's like, I want to thank you, the Israelis. He's a monarchist. I want to thank you for saving. And then they were like, what the fuck are you talking about? But we trying to kill all of you. What do you mean? Look, let's continue.
Israeli people.
Yay. Is that good or no? I'm confused. Thank you, Israelis, no?
Yes.
Them.
Are you not from Israel?
I am.
Then you don't know if it's good or bad.
Go Israel. But you're saying that you're thanking us for bombing them, or you're thanking them for bombing us?
Thanking you for saving the people of Iran.
Of course, but we did not save them. We're killing them, bro.
Bro, imagine how fucking pathetic you have to be. Like this is even the Israelis are like, ew. Like, bro, you gonna have no pride in your own people? They're like, we're not saving you, motherfuckers. We're slaughtering you. And you see the different messaging that they're using to sell this conflict among the Iranian people. They say we're here to bail out and save the Iranian people. This is not a war. This is a rescue operation. That's what they always say. This is not a war. This is a rescue operation. Meanwhile, in Israel, they're like, yo, we about to slaughter all the Amalek. We about to slaughter everyone in Iran. You can see it with Benjamin Netanyahu in his speeches. Benjamin Netanyahu, he gives a speech in English. He's like, we're here to stand with the democracy in Iran. We're here to support the protests in Iran. We support the Iranian people. Israel is the greatest friends to the Iranian people. He said that shit in English. Then he give another speech in Hebrew. Bro, he give a speech in Hebrew. We're like, yeah, we're going to kill every one of these motherfuckers in Iran. It's time for us to achieve the greater Israel project. Like, they do this all the time. They have one message for the Israelis. Yeah, we're going to kill all the Amalek. Then they have a message for the West. Oh, don't you know we're committing a genocide because we're actually battling for Western civilization? Oh, yeah. The reason why we have to kill all the Palestinians because if we didn't, they would launch terrorist attacks on you. Yeah. That's what we're doing. We are the defenders of the West. That's what they say in English. Meanwhile, in Hebrew, kill the Amalek. Death to everyone. Death to the Gentiles. All right, so let me. I'm gonna go back a little bit and play some more of it. I'll let you finish all the way through because this sums up this video has been going mega viral, exposing how pathetic and how traitors these people are. Zoya, I apologize. If you're on the left, I apologize because if I ever ran for office, I might have to run on a deportation agenda. I support deporting Iranians, the Iranian diaspora thugs, back to Iran so they can face justice. I support deporting the Gusano Cubans back to Cuba. I support deporting the Venezuelan Gusanos back to Venezuela so they can face justice. Bro, I really hope these Iranian diaspora thugs face justice in their country for what they're cheering for. Imagine seeing over 160 of your children die, and you're like, thank you for bombing us. What a complete and utter garbage psychopath. He's subhuman. These people are utterly subhuman. But let's continue.
You Israeli people.
Yay. Is that good or no? I'm confused. Thank you, Israelis, no?
Yes.
Them.
Are you not from Israel?
I am.
Then you don't know if it's good or bad.
Go Israel. But you're saying that you're thanking us for bombing them, or you're thanking them for bombing us?
Thanking you for saving the people of Iran.
Of course, but we did not save them. We're killing them, bro.
I am Iranian and I'm thanking you.
Really?
Yes.
I'm sorry, I thought, bro, you gotta see how even they're like, bro, what? Even Israelis have secondhand embarrassing in front of these people. Sorry, let me continue.
What he's saying is, thank you for saving them. Not killing, saving.
Second of all, your country is bombing the government of Iran, not Iranian people.
Oh.
So
Yes.
it's a rescue mission.
Careful not to kill their freaking citizens.
You're trying to not to kill our citizens, but sometimes it happens.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta murder my own people. Bro, that's crazy. That's crazy. He like, yeah, sometimes you guys murder our own people. It's all good. No skin off of my back. What the fuck? And also, I have to mention, I have no idea how, like, this is a viral clip, and I had to show you guys this. I have no idea how old the girls are in that video. To me, I'm an unk. These motherfuckers look like babies to me. I couldn't even tell you how old they are. 15? Like, they look like fucking babies. Anyone know? I'm not good at guessing people's age. But to me, they look like fucking babies. You know what I mean? I see high schoolers. I'm so old now. I see high schoolers. I'm like, damn, did I look that young? They all look like fucking babies. Bro, they are fucking babies. Like, I would think 14 too. I would think 14, 15. Imagine how psychotic your society has to be in Israel for you to be a 14-year-old girl and just casually talking about murdering people like that. Isn't that crazy? You guys say, no, we are killing all of you. Yeah, my country is killing your people. You okay with us killing? Bro, I never talk like that as a 14-year-old. Are you kidding me? That's insane. You guys see how normalized murderous violence is, even among the children? Isn't this what they accuse Palestinians and Muslims of doing, to radicalizing their youth to the point where murder is not a big deal? Where you just casually talk about genocide? She even brought up the point like, hey, yo, we not just bombing the government, we bombing people too, man. So I'm showing you guys this because the Iranian diaspora is easily the worst people in the world. But the only people that are allowed to speak about this issue are these murderous monarchists in Iran. So what MSNBC and CNN is doing, I'm showing you guys this because I think this is one of the most aggressive examples, and I'm actually surprised they posted this deranged shit on their channel. What Fox News, don't get me wrong, Fox News is bad too. I just didn't feel like wasting your time showing that shit to you guys because it's all rah. Hey, boomers, we're winning another war. Hey, we're Fox News. We're here to lie to you guys and explain to you guys how we're winning a war or not. That's why most Americans think we're winning. So I'm not trying to say that these people are worse than Fox. Like, they all are in it together and they all selling this war in a different way. And on MSNBC, they keep bringing on these traitors to explain why we should support this war. But anyway, I think I previewed this enough. I'll play this. Let's get through this. This is the propaganda that is poisoning the minds of Americans right now, whether they know it or
Some
not.
breaking news from Trump on the war with Iran. Trump spoke with Israel's Channel 14 earlier, saying Iran wants to make a deal, saying, I think they want to do one very badly. Anybody wants a deal if you are getting decimated, right? Well, Trump was also...
So they're doing the intro now, but something I want to explain and something I've seen, and I'm breaking this down for people who don't watch this garbage. I wouldn't if I didn't do this, but I'm here to decolonize people's mind and equip you guys with the ability to debunk this propaganda. One thing, like what they're doing now, they will bring up how Donald Trump is obviously lying about negotiations. Like, Donald Trump is obviously lying. He's doing that to protect the markets. He's trying to protect the fact that this war is not going well with them. And instead of explicitly explaining to their audience that, hey man, Donald Trump is only saying that there are peace talks on the table because he's trying to protect the markets and he's doing propaganda on that. Instead of just acknowledging that Donald Trump is a liar, they keep doing stuff like, well, Donald Trump claims that we're negotiating for peace. Iran claims that they're not. And you guys know that we can't trust the filthy Iranians. So yeah, Donald Trump is a liar, but the Iranian people are liars too, so we don't know who's telling the truth. Fam, I cannot tell you how many times they pulled that out of the bag. That's their narrative that they're going with. And I'm actually curious on what you guys think, because I'm not sure if they say in this segment, but I want to get your guys' thoughts on this because I've been working this out in my mind as well. Because there's been a narrative that's been bothering me, and I'm not sure how to necessarily feel about it. One of the narratives that we are hearing is how the Gulf states and how Saudi Arabia, they're secretly want Donald Trump to finish this war. And I'm going to be honest, there's something about that story, even though that seemed like some shit that Saudi Arabia would do. To me, doesn't that seem like that's a bullshit story used to cover for Israeli war crimes? Do you guys know what I mean? Have you guys seen that story where they're like, don't you know that Saudi Arabia is secretly supporting this war? I've seen a lot of leftists report on that as well. What do you guys think? I'm kind of skeptical of that story, to be honest. I'm skeptical of the Gulf states secretly supporting this war behind the scenes. To me, that seems like a liberal talking point so they can deflect blame from Israel. You remember how Rachel Maddow was saying that Donald Trump didn't start this war because of Israel. He did it because of the Gulf states. I don't know. What do you guys? I'm asking you guys in the chat. What do you guys think? Do you guys think the Gulf states really are supporting this war? I know, and the thing is, I'm not saying that out of respect for Saudi, because Saudi are Zionist puppets, but their public position is let's advocate for peace. You know, their public position is, hey, let's end this conflict. So to me, it seems like the story about Saudi Arabia secretly supporting this war, it seems like a lie. Do you guys agree with that? I'm asking, if you're in the comments, let me know. I'm actually very I'm still working this out. Still not necessarily sure what to believe, because I can't see Saudi doing that, but to me it seems like some bullshit talking points. But we're just getting started here. Let's continue.
Wants a deal if you are getting decimated, right? Well, Trump was also asked if the U.S. could take control of the Strait of Hormuz, to which he said, yeah, sure, it's already happening. This comes as the New York Times is reporting approximately 2,500 U.S. Marines and another 2,500 sailors have been deployed to the Middle East. This now brings the total number of American troops in the Middle East to over 50,000, 10,000 more than usually stationed there. The Washington Post is also reporting that the Pentagon is preparing for weeks of ground operations inside Iran, according to officials. Quote, any potential ground operation would fall short of a full-scale invasion and could instead involve raids by a mixture of special operations forces and conventional infantry troops. We must note that Trump has made no decisions. Joining us now are David Rohde, MS Now senior national security reporter, and Kian Tajpaksh, professor of international relations at NYU and Columbia University, fellow on the Committee on Global Thought. He's also a former political prisoner who was released as part of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal. It's good to have both of you with us. Kian, let me start with you and your reading of the situation this evening. One of the questions that we posed at the top was whether we are going into the beginning of the end of this war or going into a very dangerous potential escalation with an attempt to take control of the Straits of Hormuz, as well as potentially putting American troops on the ground and expanding this war beyond what we've already seen. How are you reading it right now?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to say that there are really long-term kind of strategic logic and coherence to this war. I mean,
Bro, what? Here we go. So guess who they bring on? They bring on a member of the Iranian diaspora, someone who was apparently arrested, because to me, there's no doubt that this motherfucker was arrested for spying on behalf of the CIA. So this is another example of MSNBC bringing on some Iranian motherfucker who's going to tell the audience why this war is actually a good thing. The intro lead up to this segment was all about, hey man, Donald Trump is about to deploy ground troops to Iran. That's crazy. Isn't that crazy, bro? And then this Iranian diaspora motherfucker's like, actually, we gotta acknowledge that there's actually some real good reasons we need to do this. And he continued to get even more deranged. Let's run it back.
Doing it right now.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to say that there are really long-term kind of strategic logic and coherence to this war. I mean, as I have I've tried to reframe the way that I see it, and that is to say, instead of thinking that Israel and the United States have started a war with Iran, I think they're responding to a war that Iran started 47 years ago in 19.
This is the Resistance Liberal Network. Who, you guys see what they're doing? They're trying to reframe the issue for liberals, because they're like, yeah, we know that Donald Trump said a lot of stupid shit. Listen, this is what you guys should think about this war. This is how we should think about this war. The Iranian people overthrowing the U.S.-installed fascist state, the brutal Shah who did everything they accused the Iranian government of doing now. The Shah has secret police. They had secret torture facilities. There was no democracy. There was no dissent allowed. But according to liberal academia, because this person is an academic too now, he like teaches at NYU some shit. They said the Iranian people would freeing themselves from a Western installed government and having their Islamic revolution, which is their right and sovereign right to do. The liberal class, the Democratic class, they are framing that as Iran starting a war with us. Bro, what are you talking about? So the liberal class wants to change the framing of this issue about being Trump and Israel starting an illegal war to, oh, this is actually Trump saving the Iranian people. This comes from the people with Trump derangement syndrome. This is what you got to see why this is why I never respect the Trump derangement syndrome lib, because they would say that, oh man, you guys are letting Trump win, we got to vote against Trump. Then they support politicians, then they support policies that is directly in line with MAGA. They support their agenda inherently. But before I continue, let's hear more of his arguments, because there's gonna be a lot to say about what this Iranian, look, this guy, you guys see, look, this man is an international relations professor. There are people on the right that says that education in the United States is woke. You guys see how the right wing, like, man, these woke universities, these woke colleges, and American education is woke. Meanwhile, they got this pro-war scumbag who is the international relations director at NYU. In what universe is American education woke or left at all? You know, the same education that taught American kids that the Native Americans got along and have feasts with their genocidal colonizers, and how if only the Indians was willing to negotiate. Like, anyway, that's a topic for a whole nother day, like how propagandized we are. We only 2 minutes and we just scratching the surface. Let's continue. This is the pro-war argument. And you guys can see they explain. You got the title of this video. I don't know if you can see it. Let me take the big screen now. You guys see how the title of this video is "Former Iranian Political Prisoner Speaks Out Amid U.S.-Iran War." So you guys see the focus of MS Now, MSNBC, what they are bringing Iranian monarchists to sell the war to the Democrat liberal class. And if this is what they're doing on MSNBC, there should be no doubt that Kamala Harris and the Democratic Party plan to pursue this conflict if they won last election? How can people see MSNBC engage in pro-war propaganda and they're the mouthpiece of the Democratic Party? So shouldn't it be clear that they support the war as well? The fact they had this dipshit on and offers no pushback to this guy? Let's listen.
I mean, as I have I've tried to reframe the way that I see it, and that is to say, instead of thinking that Israel and the United States have started a war with Iran, I think they're responding to a war that Iran started 47 years ago in 1979. And I say that not as a, I know we hear that from the administration, but let me tell you an anecdote. I was, as you mentioned at the outset, I was a political prisoner in Iran. I think I was the longest held American citizen imprisoned by the Iranian regime.
You definitely deserved it. I bet I can ease. I didn't look it up before. Maybe I should. I bet you this motherfucker was caught spying for the CIA against the regime, planning some sort of regime change. I bet every fucking dollar that I own that this motherfucker deserved it. So this motherfucker was a spy. He definitely did something to betray his people, and the government charged him with treason. So I bet you did some fucked up shit. So you guys see, this is what they want. This is what they want the liberals to think. The people who have a bone to pick with the Iranian government because they wanted to reinstall the Shah. These are the people that we should listen to.
For a year in Evin prison and 8 months in solitary confinement under the IRGC, and then 6 years under house arrest before I was released under the 2015 nuclear deal. While I was, I was up close and personal with a lot of the IRGC officers over many years and hours of interrogation. One of them told me something very telling, and I think I've always taken that. And he said, you have to understand that the way we look at the world and the way we look at the relationship between us and the United States, we view that we are at war. And he said, and this was several years ago, he said, we are in a Cold War, but it is a war nonetheless. And he said, you made the mistake of coming to Iran as an Iranian American and not realizing that that's the way we view the United States and Israel.
I promise you, for one, that this didn't happen. Secondly, considering that Iran has been under sanctions, which is an act of war, there's millions of people have been murdered by United States sanctions. The Iranian people suffered through these sanctions and constant United States aggression. And there's the fact that the United States soldiers are occupying the countries that Iran is allied with. So, of course, Iran is at war with the United States, even though this guy definitely didn't say that. Like, he's definitely making some shit up. They always do that. Every single story on corporate media, you might as well throw it in the trash. They're making some shit up. But even if that did happen, they'll be right. They'll be right to say that we're at war with the United States. And this guy, you can tell by the way this segment is being framed that they're hiding something. Like, they're definitely hiding something. So where do you have this conversation where they say, man, we're at war, bro. So why are you spying with the people we're at war for? So you play stupid ass games, you win stupid ass prizes. Your ass was caught doing some spying shit, and then he was released after I think Obama signed up for the Iranian nuclear deal. I think he explains that later. I don't know how long we'll get to that, but that's when he was released. It was part of the conditions of the Iranian nuclear deal. So the United States government negotiated his release. That's how you know he had ties with the United States government, bro. Like, if he was just some random Iranian who lived in Iran who did some fucking goofy ass shit, do you think the United States would waste their time? Like, hey man, I want you to free that one Iranian guy you have in prison. That one guy you have. No, they tried to get him released because he was 100% on the USAID payroll. He was 100% Mossad. Definitely did some fucked up shit. You know that for a fact because he's on national TV arguing why we should support a war where we are bombing school children, where we engage in one of the largest acts probably ever of chemical warfare, bombing their nuclear facilities. But let's watch a little bit more of this. I told you guys, it's going to be one of those streams. It's Monday. You guys know how Monday streams go. We'll play a little bit more of that, but and see what this guy said. This is the messaging that coming from Democrat media. And the reason why I believe this is important, because this telegraphs, I know we already know this, but more data points is always good. The fact that MSNBC and CNN are making the argument for this war, that's how you know they're going to support it the second they get power. The fact that the Democratic Party blocked the Wars Power resolution is how you know they support. So I think that's an important point to make, but let's continue.
As an Iranian American, and not war. And he said, and this was several years ago, he said, we are in a Cold War, but it is a war nonetheless. And he said, you made the mistake of coming to Iran as an Iranian American and not realizing that that's the way we view the United States and Israel. They always have seen themselves in a war. So back to your question, I think that the strategic logic of this war is not just a short-term response to events. I would say one big turning point has led to this war, and that was actually October 7th, 2023. That October 7th attack changed the rules of the game in geopolitics.
Oh, he's a Zionist. He's a Zionist. Do I even have to say? So he's invoking October 7th. So the fact that Iran has allies that are willing to fight back, that's the reason why we should go to war with Iran. Do you know how crazy that is? You see what they do? They do this on MSNBC and CNN all the time. They said, don't you know that we technically been in war with Iran forever because they keep funding terrorist proxies? Nigga, these are their allies. What's the difference between a NATO state? What's the difference between the relationship between the U.S. and the UK and France versus Iran, Iraq, Yemen, Lebanon, previously Syria before the head choppers took charge? There is no difference. States are allowed to have alliances. The difference is Israeli aggression put Iran's allies in a position where they have to respond. So I'm going to give you guys an example of this that no one in the Western media talks about. You guys know that the Iraq parliament voted to expel United States troops in Iraq, right? They did that during Donald Trump's first term. So in response to the Iraqi parliament voting to kick out U.S. troops, the United States government said, no, we're not doing shit. Fucking make us. Well, we going to make us leave? Fuck you. We're going to stay here. So in response, the Iraqi resistance engaged in their right to armed resistance against an occupying power. The same way that the Palestinians have a right to engage in armed resistance against the Zionist genocidal regime known as Israel. So, of course, Iran, who is allied with these states and these people, would be supportive of the resistance efforts after they are victims of aggression. Imagine, well, you don't have to imagine. You see what happened in Ukraine. Imagine if any enemy of the United States decided, we're just going to illegally occupy Paris. Imagine if Russia was like, we're going to have some troops in Paris just chilling. Nigga, and then France was like, bro, we're going to fuck you up. and then the people in France killed the Russian soldiers that occupied Paris. And then imagine if Russia then turned around like, we're going to declare war on the United States because your terrorist proxies in France murdered Russians. That's essentially the argument that every single American in the mainstream political discourse is making about why Iran is our enemy. Do you guys know that Iran murdered American soldiers? Why the fuck is American soldiers in the Middle East? All right, I'm gonna let him finish this point. We're gonna get to near the end, but you guys see, he's not tepidly making the argument for why we should go to war. This is MSNBC, and I'm showing you guys this example because I caught them doing this all the time. This is MSNBC unapologetically making the argument to their liberal Democrat supporters on why we should support this war, period. We are in an era of propaganda that's probably the craziest we've seen, at least since the war on terror. because there's no dissent that is being allowed. The only thing that they allowed to say is, I think Trump is mishandling this war. There's no statements on MSNBC, CNN where they say, hey, I don't think we should go to war and murder Iranians on principle. They're literally not allowed to say that. And I watch way too many of these segments, almost an unhealthy amount. And not one of these segments have any of these liberals who support Democrats who attended the No Kings rally. Not one point did they ever say, I think it's morally wrong for us to act as a genocidal hegemon who kills people who opposes the United States. So let's begin to wrap this up because holy fuck am I going long tonight. But Zoe, I'm going to bring you in here in a minute. I just really want to wrap up his. I don't have to watch the whole segment. I don't want to listen to this cracker right here. Oh fuck! I hope I don't get banned for that. This fucking paste. This guy right here on his on the left here on his right. He is just as deranged, but I'm not. We don't got time. I'm not listening to this pasty vampire motherfucker. Let's. You can tell this motherfucker burns whenever he sees the sun. He's a vampire. I want to play his arguments and then we wrap this segment after that.
They always have seen themselves in a war. So back to your question, I think that the strategic logic of this war is not just a short-term response to events. I would say one big turning point has led to this war, and that was actually October 7th, 2023. That October 7th attack changed the rules of the game in geopolitics in the Middle East in two main ways. First, the cost to ignoring the proxies and the ballistic missiles was suddenly exposed. That is to say, under the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, which, by the way, I'm very grateful for because I wouldn't be free if it wasn't for that. But its flaw was that it neglected the ballistic missiles and the proxies. October 7th revealed that Iran could actually cause mayhem in the region, and the Gaza war was a continuation of that. The second way in which it changed the rules of the game was that Iranian officials explicitly and openly, for the first time, said we should go for a nuclear weapon. And
okay, Netanyahu. Y'all been saying that shit for fucking ever. He was like, man, don't you know that October 7th he changed the games, man. It showed that we can't ignore Iranian proxies. You mean they're allies? Like the racism from this guy is a professor. This man, he teaches at NYU, bro, international relations. You gotta see what I would view. I need to write a Substack article about this, about the racist language that colonizers use. So write that down. I need to write an article about that one day. Like how the Iranian government is a regime. The U.S. and the U.K., even though they're a capitalist dictatorship, they're a government though. Iran, they don't have allies; they have proxies. Like when I hear this shit, to me, maybe this is my shit lib coming out. Like this is probably a shit lib take. But whenever I hear this stuff, to me, that's clearly the definition of white supremacy, of racism, of Jewish supremacy, of Western chauvinism. When they just deny the agency of these people, they deem them as savages who don't have a government, but they have a regime. But holy shit, this guy is really long-winded. But this, you gotta see how it got more deranged as it kept going. But I think he's almost done. Let's see. I think he talked for all. Yeah, he almost done. He has like another minute. I'm gonna let it finish. And I'll give you guys my final thoughts as we wrap the segment.
Caused mayhem in the region, and the Gaza war was a continuation of that. The second way in which it changed the rules of the game was that Iranian officials explicitly and openly, for the first time, said we should go for a nuclear weapon. And that was because they felt defenseless after the June war that the Israelis sent. That, I think, changed the whole calculus in the Middle East. And when President Trump put these conditions to the Iranians in Muscat, in Oman, 2 months ago, and the Iranians rejected all of them, I think that we were into a place where it couldn't really stop. I mean, in other words, it was something that all US presidents had tried to deal with in one way or other, kicking the can down the road. That would be the most uncharitable way of saying it. And finally, it came to a point with dashing for a nuclear weapon, the ballistic missiles, the Middle East in turmoil and all that. All of this means that the United States, I think, has realized that it must secure its vital national interests in keeping the Hormuz Straits open, reducing their nuclear weapons, their ballistic missiles, and the issues of proxies. That's why I think the ground troops, in a sense, there is a logic to that. In other words,
MSNBC supporting the ground invasion.
Once the United States has gone down this road, it has to try to, well, maybe not finish the job, but try to defang and weaken Iran as much as possible to protect all its allies in the region. That's the way I would put it.
The Iranian diaspora is absolutely disgusting. So I didn't hear. I don't have to hear from this pasty motherfucker, the vampire. And I will say this for the people, for the one Karen, the two Karens who are upset about my comments. You caught me. I'm gonna tell you guys right now. I am racist against imperialists. If you're a genocider, I hate your guts. I hate everything you're about, and I'm gonna say whatever it takes to hurt your feelings. So that if you get upset at me making fun of like these fascists, like the people who got upset at me for making fun of Nick Fuentes, yeah, I'm racist against Nick Fuentes. I'm racist against imperialists. I hate white people who support genocide. I want to say that. I hate black people who support genocide. Like if I see a Negro supporting Israel, I'm like, you fucking coon, raccoon, sellout, Uncle Tom. Bro, whenever I see a black person support Israel, I call them every single slur I know. So you caught me, bro. I'm racist to Zionist motherfuckers. I guess you gotta cancel me now. By the way, just to remind you, you gotta know one of the most viewed people in the internet is openly racist. They're anti-black racists. So I think I'm allowed to make fun of these pasty vampires who support genocide. But I'm sorry if I hurt your little feelings because you got offended on behalf of this pasty motherfucker. I call them vampire people because the sun burns them. All right, Zoya, you wanna bail me out before I get canceled even more? Zoya's love, Zoya's life. Stop me from doing damage. Like, bro, how can you not see this white dude on the left here and not be racist towards him? Like, I want to take his lunch money. Anyway, Zoya, I'll let you take over. We had to end here, but so you can close. I'll be here chilling. There was a one hell of a stream. It's Monday. You guys know what we're doing on Monday. Long ass stream. We have Razbone join on Wednesday, so you guys know that's gonna be a banger. Me and Razbone, we're gonna close the show out. Read super chats. It's gonna be a fun time. He been dual streaming that too, and that's helping my channel out a lot. So big shout out to my homie Razbone. Cause that's so like I obviously didn't plan. I was like, I want to do a show with Razbone because it's great, but Razbone is putting up fucking Luka Doncic numbers. He putting up Michael Jordan, LeBron, Kevin Durant numbers on the stream. So those streams are very fun. They're very helpful for the channel that's struggling. So I'm looking forward to that on Wednesday. I love Razbone. He's the homie. So Zoya's love, Zoya's life. Sweet talk us a little bit.
Rathbone is based. I love Rathbone too. Let's get into your guys' chats. SK Rugal, good to see you. He's flying the Shaw flag also. Yeah, I saw that. Very disappointing. Wix, Da я русский и живу в Беларуси. He said, yes, I'm Russian and I live in Belarus.
Zoya, you're so based. Like whenever I hear Zoya speak Russian, I'm like, damn, that's so fire. I didn't learn Russian. I want to learn Mandarin because I want to live in China one day, but that shit is so fucking hard, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a victim of American education.
You have my sympathy. We have to be compassionate.
So you need to speak Russian more on the channel more. that was dope. But sorry, Zoe.
We need more Russian chats. You guys heard him. You guys send them. I'll read them. Casey McCoy, who's worse, Iranian or Cuban diaspora? You know, like we're really going to have to. Yeah, we need to do like a poll on that because it's a tough competition. You know, these guys have all been putting up pretty crazy numbers. You know, they're really going out there protesting for their own people to be bombed passionately. So I don't know. I get triggered by both diasporas. We definitely should poll that next time.
I don't. Do they realize how crazy they look to everybody? Like that's the wild part because that's the capitalist dictatorship. It don't matter what. Like everyone hates them. They hate Iran because even people who don't like Iran, even people who have like criticism of their own countries, you know what I mean? But the idea that you advocate bombing and murdering them. Like, I have a clip that I may show with Rathbone. I didn't have time for it tonight, and I also wanted to share, save it for Rathbone, where this guy calls out these Iranian diaspora protesters. One of the segments I have that I wanted to cover. So Zoya, I'm gonna get to that. I wanted to cover. I had so much I wanted to cover, but I want to save some for Wednesday. They were disgusting. I can't believe obviously I'm a descendant of slave. I'm a African descendant of slave, so I don't know what's like to have to be part of a diaspora that was robbed from me. You know what I mean, with the great sin of slavery. But like, I guess that's why I can't even comprehend, bro. Like, imagine me calling for like Ghana or Africa to be bombed, bro. Like that shit is crazy. Like that shit is absolutely crazy.
We all get secondhand shame just like watching them. It's like, how can you do this to your own people? And as someone that comes from a country, the Soviet Union, that was collapsed by imperialism, I mean, I've seen Russians also, Russian diaspora, cheer for the collapse of the Soviet Union, but they all live to regret it, just like people who were cheering on a regime change in Syria, and now they see the violence in the streets. So I really wish that people would study more theory and be on the right side of history. Joseph Massey, I used to support Ukraine before I woke up. And you see, this is so motivating, though. This is why we do this work, because, yeah, we're all indoctrinated. We're all victims of crazy empire propaganda. So it's okay if, you know, you fell for it, but it's great to see people
why do you guys
in their minds.
Why do you guys think I talk about it so much? Because to me, the issue of Palestine is easy to get correct. That's why everyone and their mother get that correct. When you look at issues like Syria, when you look at issues like Ukraine, it's a little bit more complicated, and the empire has a strong propaganda grip on it. But you just got to scratch the surface a little bit. That's why you guys think there's so many pro-Palestinian activists who fell for the Syria bullshit or pushed it on purpose, like Mehdi Hassan. You know what I mean? Because it's not as like just simple as Israelis are they stealing the land from Palestinians and slaughtering their people. But the second you look into and you debunk the CIA lies said about Syria, about Assad, the second you look under the surface, it takes just a little bit of effort. That's why people fall for it, because they put no effort in. They listen to some NATO left dipshit, or they are passively influenced by liberal corporate media. But the second that you look under the hood, I think Ukraine and Syria are the two best examples. Like like people who supported the Free Syria movement, they didn't look into who was funding it. They didn't look at who the objectives of the movement was. They didn't look at they were like, oh, don't you know Assad gasses people, man? The CIA told me. Assad gasses people. Don't you know that Putin is slaughtering Ukrainians? They ignore the ethnic Russians who were slaughtered. Yeah, it takes some effort, and I'm glad I'm able to wake people up, because some of these issues, you just got to scratch the surface just a little bit to reach the proper anti-imperialist position. That's why it's crazy to me when I see people who position themselves as thought leaders refuse to do the same thing. You know what I mean? You guys see, like that guy who fell for the Ukraine war. I'm not even that mad at him because he's not like a propagandist. I don't think he got a YouTube channel, but people like Emma Vigeland, like these people who've been, you got to realize that Vaush, TYT, Hassan, these people have been doing this years longer than me. You understand? Like the majority report was a thing 10 years before I even started, maybe 15. Emma Vigeland has like 15 years experience as a political commentator. And you telling me you don't know the truth about Ukraine? Are you serious? These are the people who smeared Aaron Mate for being a sadist. These are things that me and Zoe have seen throughout our time in the U.S. left, and you see these patterns of Democratic socialists and social democrats who are the modern wing of fascism consistently repeat CIA talking points at a crucial time for the empire. And the reason why I do this is because I'm trying to stop Americans from doing that. It's specifically the American left. So thank you. I'm glad you guys learned something. I'm glad I was able to change that person's mind, because that's what it's all about.
Boy, RURGX. You guys should really do some theory and history streams. We do all the time. And we're definitely going to bring Jody back at some point. She does the best theory streams. She really breaks it down concisely and informatively.
Hit the bell, my friends. Make sure you don't miss the episode. Like me and Zoe, we always crack up because people are like, man, I think I have a suggestion, man. I think you should have Max Blumenthal on. I'm like, bro, we had him on like 3 times.
Yeah.
Like people always like. So I understand that you guys are not going to watch all the library, but trust me, we definitely have. There's not many people on YouTube who discuss theory and history more than I do. I'm sorry if that sounds braggadocious, but that's just a fucking fact.
Yeah, guys, stay tuned. Kariyama, imagine a diaspora Iranian Cuban kid. That person would be so annoying at parties.
Oh my god, dude, yeah.
John Freeze, thank you for the $9.99. I am against homophobia and sexism, but I am also against queer feminist imperialism. Yeah, rainbow imperialism and all of these liberal Western ideas that they weaponize to drop bombs on children and women. It's really preposterous. It defies logic how people fall for it. The Reezy No Saurid. Nick, have you considered doing call-ins? Nick did do call-ins like a while ago. I think what might be more feasible, if you guys are interested, if we get a good response in the chat that you guys all want to see this, maybe Nick can do a space one day where you guys can interact. So let us know in the chat if that's something you guys are interested in. Carl is... Sorry, Nick.
No, I was saying I'm down for that.
Word. Carl is honest. We know how Saudis feel about Lebanon. I never expect much from that kingdom. Saudi Arabia is really a Western imperialism creation, so have very low expectations for them. Mr. Blamo, Victor visit the Teardrop Memorial in New Jersey. All victims' names that died on 9/11, dedicated by Russia. Yeah, some people don't know that Russia dedicated a memorial after 9/11 to commemorate all the victims. You know, that evil empire that cares about human lives. Left of Tube, Deep State Acid. Yeah, that guy on the show. Andor Dude, Ivy League Narrative Spin Master. Yeah, and those are the same kind of shows Dr. Cornel West goes on. Abiding.
My bad, that's on accident.
Nick leaving people in shambles on X. Yeah, you love to see it. BZ Squimby, propaganda reports get me pretty angry. Yeah, it could be pretty upsetting for all of us. I mean, never lose that righteous anger, but we have to make it productive and push back. Eric B. Mohoft, the Native Americans negotiated and the USA broke every treaty. That's right. Let people never forget. People who know you can't trust this crooked empire. A bunch of criminals.
That's the only criticism you can make legit when people say Israel hijacked the United States. You guys know my official position is that Israel and the United States are one entity. Israel is a colony of the United States. And a lot of people on the right who, God bless their souls, I love that there are people on the right speaking out against Israel, but they still have a little bit of pro-American to them. You know what I mean, Zoe? Where they be like, I think Israel's hijacking our country. They are tricking our government to do it. Like, no, like, fam, we are one entity, and Israel tactics are American tactics. That's one thing that they try to pretend that Israel is injecting this culture of genocide that is unique, that never existed in America. Like, no, the reason why Israel and the United States is one entity because Israel copies the tactics of the United States and use the same genocidal tactics that's been successful that they used throughout the 1800s and 1900s. That's why I don't blame Israel for what the United States is. The United States was that before Israel. That's why Israel is a thing. It's a colony of the Middle East. Just so important to remember.
Yeah, 100% agree with you, Nick. A lot of people are trying to whitewash the Anglo-Saxon crimes this country was founded on. It's pretty funny to see. Fine weather. Haha. Oh, damn, Nick. Yeah, we love how Nick breaks down the news for us. BZ Furlow. He is an expert in lying. Yeah, that's a job under the empire. Kat Terrell watched another travel show on the Strait of Hormuz from a year ago. Very beautiful area and mixed cultural of people. Would have loved to have seen that. Yeah, all these places that the empire, makes into these evil bad guy caricatures. If you actually ever go to visit these places, they're very picturesque with a rich history and a lot of beauty.
What does it say? Because one thing that I want to troll a neocon about if I ever get a chance. They claim that Iran is this crazy terrorist state that is a threat to the West, right? But Iran clearly had an off switch that they could have used at any time to fuck up the West. So the fact that they allowed these countries to sell through the Straits of Hormuz and refuse to inflict costs on the global working class and global economics, despite everything that Israel and the West was doing until now, doesn't that show you how reasonable they are? Does that make sense what I'm saying, Zoya? If Iran was as crazy as these neocons want us to believe, and if they wanted to murder as many people as possible because they're a terrorist state, wouldn't they block the Straits of Hormuz already? Like, aren't they swell people, the fact that they even allow ships to pass through this long? You guys see what I mean? Please continue, Zoya.
Yeah, they definitely cared about the humanitarian cause because, of course, all of this as it's rippling through markets is going to impact the most poor among us. And they knew that. That's why they're really humanitarians and didn't want to pull the switch until the U.S. left them no choice. Oh, sorry, I skipped this comment. Marvin Vargas, the Ayatollah killed, was held in jail under the Shah for 6 years. Yeah, the monarchists want to bring back a fascist empire. Kill your egregores. Sanctions is a fancy term for siege warfare, a war crime. Absolutely. Even John F. Kennedy said that. Violin. Dem Party blocking war powers resolution is indeed an admission of complicity in the crimes. Yes, Republicans and Democrats are definitely collaborators, not an opposition. There is no opposition party right now in power.
And never forget, and do not allow these squad defenders like Hassan Piker to forget that every single squad member voted for Hakeem Jeffries. So every single war that Hakeem Jeffries support, de facto the squad support. Don't listen to their bullshit. You guys vote for Hakeem Jeffries. Everything he does, you guys own. Period.
And never forget Hakeem Jeffries endorsed Zoran Mamdani.
Zoran Mamdani blocked DSA from waging a primary campaign against Hakeem Jeffries. But people think we're the bad guy for calling him out, though. He literally helping get Zionists elected, bro. Literally defending Zionists using his clout. Like I said he would do. Remember, Zoe, I told you he was going to do that? I told people he was going to do that before he was elected. And then the people like, man, like, don't you know he got to play 3D chess? That's why he betrayed us. Hey, Zon, it's okay if you betray us. Fucking pathetic, man.
Yeah, and it's like Nick says, it's pattern recognition. It's not because we're reactionaries or because it brings us any joy, that someone that's being elevated is going to betray us. We just know from studying this stuff, and we're trying to expose it to you guys. Street Camp Munchies, Lore Shack, you're invited to the cookout. I love that phrase. That's what the working class is all about. Left of tube. Russians are the best at sniffing out spies in their country. Yeah, and then they're accused of human rights violations. No, think of the spies.
Yeah, how dare you not allow our spies to do their job in your country? Like that's Dr. Cornel West in a nutshell, bro. Alexei Navalny was caught on tape taking like $6 million from the MI6. Like on tape, he was negotiating with them trying to get more money. Meanwhile, Dr. Cornel West, like, you need to respect the right for him to spy on your country. I hate these people so much, guys. I really do.
Kiriyama, France assassinates people nonstop. Saif Gaddafi was killed in Libya, where he returned just before attack on Iran. France plays tag with USA genocide. That's absolutely true. The son of Gaddafi was killed by France. These people never stop. They're never going to leave his family alone. And it just speaks to the power and popularity of Gaddafi that they're still hunting down his family members. Michael Moya, thank you for the $1. We appreciate your support. Lorshak, all the coke has weakened his concentration. Yeah, you know, the Epstein class. Violin, this is what happens when your deep state shapes academia. That is so well said and absolutely true. A travesty in American education. Paul D, this guy is a CIA asset acting as a mouthpiece for Western Empire war crimes. Absolutely. I don't know how these people sleep at night. Michael Moya, thank you for the $5. Look into what I said in the chats. Hardly anyone has covered Argentina and Chile. Yes, there's horrible things happening in Argentina and Chile. We'll definitely invite back like Ollie or Camilla.
Yeah, we need Ollie Vargas.
Yeah, someone that covers that region, and we'll do a special on Latin America for you guys.
Yeah, you guys know I'm down, definitely down to do that. I do 3-hour streams down there. I fucking don't get to everything. There's so much going on right now. But yeah, I would definitely have to cover that. Because Argentina I really wish I did more segments because what's happening in Argentina is extremely fascinating. It's just another example of like, this is probably one of the best examples. Like, there's a lot of examples, but this is the most concrete example that Marxists, that people like me and Zoya, we're going to be using the failed libertarian experiment in Argentina as a example of why that ideology is a failure for decades to come. Like, just like Kansas bankrupted themselves by implementing libertarian economics, what Javier Milei did to the Argentinian working class, now they despise them. They're gonna have to kill these people because Israel's trying to take over the country. Like, once again, you guys, I definitely want to talk about this. Like, we need to get Ollie Vargas, Camila on, because there's been a lot of crazy stuff going on in Argentina. They got a new law as well, Zoya, where they you got sort of like minimum 10 years. You see this, like a minimum 10 years in prison for anti-Semitism now. Like, it's crazy. Like, the same Jewish fascism that they implemented in the UK and Australia, they're pushing hard in Argentina. Like, bro, it's actually crazy. I haven't done an episode about it yet, but we will. Thank you for the recommendation. I definitely need to do an Argentina segment here, but there's been so much to talk about. But great suggestion.
Yeah, Argentina is also passing really harsh labor laws, like legalizing 16-hour workdays and child labor. It was crazy. But we'll get into it. We'll bring on our Latin American experts and share with you guys. Remember to subscribe on Twitch, Kick, Rumble, X, Telegram. Hit the like button, hit the bell, support us on Patreon. The link is in the description. And always make sure to organize with your neighbors in your neighborhoods. Start small, build big. Everything you do matters. Remember to enjoy the process, because revolution is about creating and building. And remember your own power and strength. Love you guys. Have a great rest of your week. We'll see you on Wednesday with Rathbone and Nick.
Zoya's love, Zoya's life. Appreciate you guys. See you guys Wednesday with Rathbone. Take care.